regular meeting of the City Council held in the Council Chamber on Thursday, July 19th, 2012 at 7 p.m. for the purpose of transacting any and all business. Notice of this meeting was posted on July 13th, 2012 at 10:32 a.m. This meeting is being taped and is live on SATV. All councilors present. Councilor Prevey is currently absent. I have not heard from him. I'm assuming he's on his way. Councilor Fury moved to dispense with the reading of the record of the previous meeting. All those in favor? Opposed? So voted. Councilor Lovely presiding. I now request that everyone please rise to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilor O'Keefe.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the record reflect that Councilor Prevey is in the chamber. Public testimony. We have two members of the audience that have signed up for public input this evening. The first is Jim Treadwell. Jim, would you please come to the podium and cite your name and address for the record?
My name is Jim Treadwell. I'm a resident of Ward 6, and I live at 36 Felt Street. I just wanted to give my opinion with regard to the environmental assessment of the intermodal station. The project that is now before us came to us first about less than a year ago, and considerable progress has been made because there's been two design meetings. I've given to each of the council members the comments that I made to the Secretary of the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs and Energy, in which I think have not had sufficient analysis as reflected in the expanded environmental notification form. And I think that they should be resolved before the final design on the project begins. Whether that's through an EIR or some other fast-tracked method, that's for the proponent, the MBTA, and the city, et cetera, to decide upon. But I think that it's foolhardy when we have an opportunity to look in depth at some of these issues that seem to be of concern. Let's take transportation and traffic. The project, when we add the 123 city spaces and the 715 T spaces, that'll be 838 vehicles parked at that facility. This will all be going to a single entrance, the MBTA driveway as modified. Do you remember how we all were so impassioned that we needed two access ways? Now all of a sudden, granted that was for a 900 space garage, but it seems to have faded. It's not covered in the environmental notification form. The number of vehicle trips a day that is judged by the expanded environmental notification form is 624 vehicle trips a day. 624. Right now, it's over 2,800 vehicle trips a day. You're going to be adding 371 new spaces, but you're not, instead of a proportion of that, the current 344 plus 123, which generate about 2,800 vehicle trips a day, we're only going to get, according to this document, 624 more vehicle trips. I really would like to have a peer review on that one. I don't see why we can't have that, why we don't deserve it. Because remember, we're going to have a full high platform, we're going to have expanded kiss and ride, we're going to have great places for buses to pull on, and yet, doesn't mean more and more people are going to come to the station. I think it would. But all they're saying is that it's going to be 623, and I don't mind to belabor it, and I'm not a traffic expert. I'm just saying I would think that is one of the key issues. It's a significant project, and I think the expanded environmental notification form doesn't give us what we need. Going on to some of the other issues, the spur line. The spur line isn't even mentioned in that document. That's the Salem to Danvers commuter rail through Peabody Square. Peabody would die to get that in place. There's no indication of how it would jive with what they're planning now. In other words, let's have some preliminary talk about that before we go to final design. Are the people going to get off the spur and walk to the main line, or is there going to be some people movement? Is there going to be, can there be a tie-in directly on the old freight line? Who knows? It's not mentioned. Pedestrian access. They completely ignore access from North Salem. Completely. We deserve an analysis of that and a discussion of it, whether or not it's going to be provided by another agency or the T. Let's have a full discussion of it. Let's get it out there. Same thing with bicycles. They say there are 35 bicycles parked on at the day that they examined it. They don't tell us how many bicycle spaces there will be within the enclosed space. I think that's another important item. Aesthetics is improved. You know, let's look at it some more. Let's find out if we can get something more in keeping before we go to final design. Other issues, I think, in addition to those, is historic preservation. Now, they say that they will continue to go through the historic preservation process on their own, you know, without an EIR. Well, let's see more about what that's all about. We've found some great archaeological information under there. Let's find out what it is. Let's find out about that before we go to, and chew on it. Let the council and the city administration and the citizens chew on that before we go to final design. I think that's about in a nutshell, what I was talking about, the Y line as well. You know, right now it's an easement that runs between the city lot and the T lot. If that's ever activated, and I understand it's supposed to be activated before they'll agree to the widening of Bridge Street between Flint and the overpass, the Pan Am people, that was Guilford's attitude, but there's no discussion of it. The widening of Bridge Street between Washington and Flint. It says it's going to start in 2014. There's also some requirements in MEPA, the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act, that talk about putting projects together and assessing the impact. There's been no attempt to discuss, we don't even know what a 25% design looks like. We've been told for 6 years that it's out there, but nobody, and this document doesn't give us any more information than we've had in the past. And what about the decam parking spaces? What's happened to that? No discussion in that document about that. So my plea would be, or my position is, that there should be more investigation. How it's done, so that it's done sufficiently, is a matter for further discussion. I would just say that in EIR, one of the best things, again, about it is it goes out for comment, the comments come back, the T would respond, the answers go back, and there would be that back and forth. Thank you very much, Council.
Thank you. Next on the, for public input, T.C. Riley Goggin.
T.C. Riley Goggin, 9 Wisteria Street. I consider it a privilege to follow in the footsteps of Stan, where you just had an expert say to you, and I think we'd be foolhardy not to take some of the comments and advice that he has just put forth. I am not the expert that he is, but I honestly believe that environmental impact review is put in place for our safety and the safety of the people of the future. I look at the big dig and some of the mistakes that they made there that people are paying for right now. Right, we also were ready to build before, but we were put on hold because of a station that they built in Revere. Right now, I'm not saying I want to put a hold on this and not go forward as soon as possible. But I say if knowing that we are also in a floodplain and that every single safety issue should be faced before a garage is put on there. In order to put this garage up, it is going to have to go on pile drivings. How this is going to work with a garage of that magnitude, I'm not quite sure. But these are things that we should know. So what I'm saying is, people, before you make a move, you people will be looked at. You will be the ones who will decide here tonight or whenever you decide upon it whether to go forward without the impact. Think of the safety of the people involved in it. Thank you.
Thank you, T.C. Moving on to the next item on our agenda, hearings.
We have an order from Extenet Systems to install poles on Ward, Lafayette, and Congress Street.
Is there anyone in the chamber appearing in favor? Please come to the podium and please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Carly Cower with Extenet Systems. My office is in Westboro, Mass. It's actually not installing 3 new poles. It'll be on existing utility poles. The utility attachment itself will be about 8 feet up and the antennas at the pole top. I don't know if anybody's familiar with DAS networks or how DAS networks are installed and how they work. They're run on fiber optics. I don't know how much you want me to go into it, how much time you want me to take. So we're a CLAC in the state, so we have rights of access to the communication space within the utility right-of-way. So what I'm looking for is a grant of location from the city to be allowed within the municipal right-of-way for those utility poles.
Councilman McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. My only question would be is, obviously, I know you have certain rights in regard to that, and I know my colleague to my right knows way more about this than I will ever begin to know about it. My only question is detrimental to people? Do they hum? Do they make noise?
No,
People
there
gonna
is
be affected by them?
there's a fan in it, but it's far enough up where it's pretty slight. There's no, I've never had a complaint on noise. We have them pretty much all over Massachusetts.
Okay.
But there's been no complaint on noise. The antenna itself is certified. It's an FCC, FAA rated antenna. It's actually a very small amount of coverage area in RF that actually comes out of the antenna.
Excellent, thank you.
Councilor Turiel.
Thank you, Madam President. I have just a couple really short questions. One is, because I am somewhat familiar with these from other installations, are these similar to the most recent case of these type of systems that I've seen deployed, or the ones that are deployed up Island and Martha's Vineyard?
Yep, we actually,
These are pretty much the same type of units. Just for reference's sake, because I've seen them, they extend about, they're small boxes attached to the utility pole, and then there's a mast antenna that goes up, I'd say about 3 or 4 feet from the top of the pole typically, maybe a little bit higher than that.
yeah,
in a
we're not
couple
using
spots.
the whip antennas here. We're using like a shorter can antenna. It's an omnidirectional.
Okay.
Those whips have individual antennas inside of them. The same ones like that are on Nantucket. That was the first DAS network, actually.
Okay.
We own and operate that network on Nantucket.
And the other follow-up question to that is, do you have, already have carriers that you're going to be leasing this to? And the other question that ties to that is, out of curiosity, unless there's a reason to not say, what carriers are planning on using it here?
Yep. This one is for Metro PCS. It's only 3 locations right now. It's actually more for capacity than it is for coverage. You'll notice if your phone is working, it looks like you have 5 bars, but it just keeps spinning. It's pretty much your capacity issue. So these nodes are actually to offload a lot of that capacity. A lot of it's for coverage too, but for the most part right now it's capacity.
And do you expect other carriers to lease on this as well, or?
We are a neutral host provider.
Okay.
So they're basically a tenant on that network and on that fiber. So we do have the opportunity to add people within the same box and the same antenna, and also to put another box. Like this one, we actually have a shroud going around, which I don't believe Martha's Vineyard has. I think it's just a communications box. We actually have that shroud to ensure if, say, Metro was to expand more, we could put another box underneath that shroud and still have it concealed with what we're going for today, or a different carrier as well.
All right, thank you.
But that antenna is actually a 12-port antenna, and it'll do every frequency, every 4G LTE that you can think of right now.
Thank you. Councilor O'Keefe.
Madam President, question of the petitioner. Is this the first location in Salem you're going to have? Are there going to be others?
These are 3. There's one more that I have going through zoning and planning. It's
Where
a little.
would that be?
It's actually on the map as proposed, and I wish I had that in front of me. I probably do in my bag somewhere. It's
What map?
right near the Wendy's, if that makes sense. It's between Wendy's and then the intersection. And you have steel Cobra headlights there now, which are owned by National Grid, but they're probably going to be removing because you're doing a couple of different projects where you're doing the architecturally historical kind of lights that are going there. So we're proposing to put either a black pole, which would have the architectural base and have the coins attached to that, or another steel pole, either without a Cobra head or with it, depending on how the city likes. But that one isn't
Another
done
question
yet.
of the petitioner? One of my colleagues alluded to the humming. Are there going to be any humming like the Comcast? I have Comcast installations in my ward that hum constantly on the pole.
Yeah,
Is
it
this gonna-
shouldn't. I don't think Delta Note, actually, the ones that we're using, has an internal
What,
fan.
do you know
I
what
think it's-
decibel reading that emits?
Nope, but I can give you the spec sheets for it.
How
I
much?
can give you all the spec sheets for it. I don't think I have that included in here,
Oh,
although it
right.
might be in your packet as well, but I can check.
So if there is a problem eventually with the noise, you'll address it?
The shroud will actually help that a lot too, if there even was a
Okay.
fan. The ones in Martha's Vineyard, I think they did prism units, and they actually have
Oh,
fans
Josh
on
knows all
top.
about that, so.
But the ones here, I don't believe even
All right,
actually have internal fans.
Thank you, ma'am.
The ones that I saw, because I use these when I went on vacation there earlier this year, and I noticed that I actually had coverage for the first time ever in that part of the island. The ones that I observed there were completely silent. I couldn't hear them whatsoever, even standing at the base of a couple of them.
They're up pretty high too. They're up in the communication zone where you can't have somebody walk by and smack them or, really get in trouble with them. So they're high enough where you're outside of that humming anyways.
Any other questions, members of the council? Thank you. Councilor Sosnowski.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Just one question. Are you working with our city electrician?
Everything that'll go through, per our Mass General Law and per our contractors, goes through the building inspector anyways for electrical permits, for inspections afterwards before they can go air. And then National Grid actually will go through as well to install the meters and do all their checks as well. So it's,
I'm
yeah,
just
the
trying to
make ready is
figure out
pretty
if our city
extensive.
electrician is okay with this. You are? Okay, fine. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Thank you. Is there anyone else in favor of this hearing, this petition this evening? Anybody in the chamber in favor? There being none, others? Is there anyone in the chamber opposed to this petition?
Can I just make a comment?
Sure.
Holly Wilbert, 7 Cedar Street. I was unaware that this was going to be on the agenda and what it meant. But can I suggest to the council that this might be our opportunity to convince National Grid to take some double poles down within a certain distance from these installations? Because we're not getting rid of any double poles, and they're unsightly, they're dangerous, and they're unnecessary. I realize that your poles aren't going to be the same, but if National Grid's going to be working with you, they could come and take down some double poles.
Thank you.
I can actually answer part of that. We have quite a bit of make ready from our fiber route to be able to connect, the fiber optics to each node. Pretty much that whole route is going to be gone through, and anybody that hasn't moved from their communication space, because there's a list. You have to get on the list for National Grid, and your cable people have to move and your telephone. All that has to be done for our route to be certified and to be,
this. No, I see it right here.
sort of on the up and up. And they take that opportunity while we're going through to make sure we do all that. So at least that route's going to be
Thank you.
improved.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the chamber opposed to this petition? There being none. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the hearing be closed.
Councilor McCarthy moves that the hearing be closed. All those in favor, opposed, so voted. Councilor McCarthy.
I further move to approve.
Councilor McCarthy moves for approval of the petition. Any further discussion? There being none. All those in favor, opposed, so voted. Thank you. Further hearings.
We have a request from attorney George Atkins for AL Prime Energy Consultants for extended hours of operation for Prime Gas Station for 24 hours, 7 days a week.
George?
President Lovely, members of the council, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is George Atkins. I'm an attorney at Ronan Siegel and Harrington, 59 Federal Street in Salem. I represent AL Prime Energy in regard to this request, as well as another request, which is a separate hearing for an inflammables license. Let me begin by just briefly indicating, I know we're in a compressed time period here, so I'll try to condense my remarks and just hit the important points. But I wanted to give you a little history of how we arrived at this. Actually, this project began as a result of a committee meeting from this council. In fact, I think Councilor O'Keefe was the chairman of that committee at the time, and asked my client to come in to address questions related to the relationship to the property next door, cars queuing on Lafayette Street in particular. And we took a look at that, and we told the council at that time, the council committee, that we would examine ways of dealing with that better on our property. Subsequent to that, we were fortunate enough, there was a change in ownership of the property next door, and we were fortunate enough to be able to enter into a purchase and sale agreement for that parcel. As you know, that building contains a convenience store that has a beer and wine license. There was an insurance office right next to it. I think it's been vacant since that time. Our building on our lot is back. It was a garage. I think the garage and the gas station go back to the 20s in this location. And what we did was develop a plan for both parcels. If you've been able to follow this through the time frame, we've been before the zoning board, we've been before the planning board in regard to this project. We met with the Point Neighborhood Association early on. We met with neighbors from a condominium next door. We met with other next-door neighbors in this process. And as a result of all of the comments made, I think we came out with a project that is substantially good for this site and cleans it up substantially. If you haven't seen the plans, basically, they will eliminate the building which contains the convenience store and liquor license. There'll be no liquor license. There'll be just one building. So we're going from 4 businesses down to 2. One building with a convenience store and the gas station out front. The zoning board allowed us 3 pump stations. We've pushed them back, and we think that that will solve the problem of queuing on Lafayette Street. In addition, of course, it's going to be state-of-the-art type of machinery, both under the ground, new double-walled tanks, and they'll be increased in size if you should grant the license for that. That decreases the number of deliveries that are made by half, which gets trucks off the streets and fewer trucks on the site. In fact, now the trucks will be on the site, be able to go on the site to deliver the product, as opposed to bumping into beer trucks and other people doing business there. The neighbors added quite a bit to this. There will be, as part of the plan, and I submitted to you copies of plans, there's a landscape plan in there which calls for Prime to plant trees along the southern side, I think that are 10 feet high, along the rear that is 15 foot high, and we'll talk some more about that in regard to this request. They also requested things like moving the tank, venting, and things of that sort, which we were able to work out with the neighbors, and I think we ended up with a pretty good plan, which is safer and better for the neighborhood. Now, this particular request, the current hours of the station are from 6 in the morning to 10 at night. On Sundays, it's 8 to 8. The request is basically to have a 24-hour opening 7 days a week, for the gas station, not the convenience store. The convenience store will close at its regular time. The gas station will be governed by a secure window. There may be some sales out of that window, small items, cigarettes, candy, that sort of thing. We don't expect, however, and the company does not in any way expect, that this is going to add a great deal to the bottom line of the company. It does affect them in another way, though. They're planning on spending on this site over $1 million to put into this location in costs. So they want to protect that investment. Now, I want to stop here and just emphasize something very, very important. And I emphasize it with the big capital letters and bold letters, however you want to describe it. They're not protecting it from the neighborhood. We think the neighborhood will benefit from the kind of security that this will provide. What we're concerned about is what every operator of this type is concerned about wherever they locate. If it's in Salem, or it's on Highland Avenue, or North Street, or wherever it is, retail operations, including gas stations and convenience stores, have the same problem. That is the risk that is associated with theft, with robbery. It could be anywhere in any other community as well. It's the same thing wherever they go. My client's company has something like in the order of 50 gas station sites. We think about 15 of them have 24 hours. What their experience has been is that having someone on site, one employee inside that building, eliminates that risk. The most vulnerable time for these places are when they open and when they close. That's when the person who's doing it is engaged with something else, he's concerned about something else. Obviously, thieves watch this kind of thing, they case these places, they understand these kinds of things. So what we end up with here, I think, in summary, is a good project for the neighborhood that cleans up a site that could use some cleaning up. And it also adds security. If we get the 24-hour operation, there's one employee there, he can pick up the phone, he can call the police will be there in no time. These threats come from outside. All of these places are located on main streets. These events occur at nighttime when the streets aren't so busy. So someone arrives by vehicle and leaves by vehicle after they do their thing. Again, closing in those nighttime hours can be very vulnerable time. We don't think, and in experience in our other locations, that this will harm the neighborhood in any way. Quite the reverse, that it'll give the neighborhood a sense of security that they don't have now. We, the company I represent, received a letter from the Lynn Police recently because they assisted in Lynn solving a fairly serious crime that occurred not on their property but outside the property. The Lynn Police were able to use the cameras at our location, and it helped a great deal in solving that crime. The same thing could take place here. Hopefully nothing happens. But the sites are equipped with cameras. The person inside, as I say, is secure. There's no entry by anyone into the store. That person is there for the 24-hour cycle or the nighttime cycle. One of the concerns, I'm sure, is lighting. If you will see in your package, you will see a lighting plan, a couple of lighting plans, actually. One shows the fixtures. As the planning board requires, every fixture at this site, or every site for that matter that the planning board approves, requires no light to emit from the sides of the fixtures. They must go straight down. All of these fixtures do that. In addition to that, we had somebody an expert do a lighting examination of what the light would produce on the ground, on the various lights. You will see on that, they're in candle powers, candle foot. I'm not sure what that means, so I asked our engineer who couldn't be here tonight, and I was told by him that one candle foot you couldn't read in. The average kitchen is about 50 candle foot. Now you will see on that plan that as you go out, this drops below 1 to 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and 0. It also didn't consider the landscaping, which I described earlier, which will deflect both to the south and to the rear. Further information. Madam Clerk,
I'm sorry, there's a couple
did
of counselors.
the councilors receive copies of those
No,
plans?
I don't believe
That's
that.
what we're trying to figure out.
Sorry.
They're referring to plans we don't have.
We did.
The old ones from a year ago?
No.
2 weeks ago, when it was first brought in, it was in the whole packet.
I submitted a series for each of you.
We
Sorry
have-
that didn't get to you.
I left
Maybe I
mine.
can get one to circulate while,
That's okay, George.
That'd be
all
helpful.
right?
Yeah.
All right, well, in any event, the light is really very minimal that will emit from this location, so that it shouldn't bother neighbors in that regard, but yet leave it lighted so that, again, it deters any kind of crime. There's been some discussion, I understand, and a suggestion was made to me that maybe this ought to be put on some kind of trial period. And I just wanted to distinguish, Ale Prime doesn't have any difficulty with that in terms of 24 hours, but there was some suggestion that maybe extending the hours to something like 1 o'clock and having a closing at 1 o'clock for a trial period would be helpful. That doesn't get to what our concern is. In fact, what it probably would result in is a little more danger for the person, a little more risk for the person who's closing at 1 o'clock versus closing at 11. So that would really not be helpful, and we wouldn't like to see that. Notwithstanding that, we certainly would be willing to have a trial period for a period of time for the 24 hours and see how it works. We're confident that the neighbors will find this better for them and better for the area, better for the community. And so we don't have any problem with that. If it's pulled from us, one of the real difficulties we do face, and that's up to our problem, it's our problem, in order to deter crime, we might have to build into the building an increased level of security in the roof where people get in, and grates in the windows and doors and that sort of thing. But we can deal with that and make a decision about that despite a 24-hour trial period for whatever the wisdom of the council may be in that regard. Let me also quickly address one other thing. I know there's some concern in this council for opening a Pandora's box, resulting in a whole series of requests of this sort. But I would suggest to you that this is a new facility. That's one distinguishing factor. Each location is different in terms of where it is, in terms of how close neighbors are, in terms of how the security is provided. Each one is different, and you have the authority, under the ordinances that exist, to make judgments in one case or another. So I don't think you're going to run into a series of these kinds of requests. I understand we've separated this. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I know there are a number of people in the audience who want to speak. I can reserve speaking after they finish and address whatever questions they may have, as well as you, and we can address the licensure issue separately if that's what you prefer. In summary, we think this is good not only for us, but good for the neighbors as well.
Thank you. Councilor Creevy.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you to Mr. Atkins, you had talked about, and basically the crux of your argument is that it's a safety concern by keeping it open. It's a safer business. It provides for safety in the area. Have you checked with the police just to find out about the other gas stations in Salem that do close? Have they experienced robberies? Have there been problems there that would essentially make your argument that it's safer to have it 24 hours? Because it sounds like it's in a money argument that's being made, but it's a safety argument. And if other gas stations are being targeted, and that's something that the police are putting forward as information that we should be concerned about, then certainly I'd like to know that.
I did talk with the chief. I didn't ask him for statistics, and he didn't indicate any particular concern except to say that they're available to address any concern, be it here or someplace else, and that's what I received from him. I think my client's answer to that would be that that's their experience in operating their stations, 50 of them, and it's also the experience of the industry generally.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor O'Keefe.
Madam President, question of the petitioner. If the council in his wisdom extends it for a 24-hour operation for a certain period of time, or 12 hours, or whatever it is, and the neighbors and everyone else in the city objects to the lighting, is your client willing to tweak the lighting arrangements to satisfy the residents in the area and
We certainly would.
people that go by?
I don't know the technical nature of how you do that, but we certainly would do
Are you
that.
committed for the record that your client will
Sure.
adjust the lights and how that station position, what have you?
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors have any questions, comments before I open it back up to the audience?
I'll ask.
Councilor Sargent.
How do you propose to handle the noise from car stereos coming and going at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, especially on weekend nights?
Well, first of all, we don't expect that many. And second of all, the people from AL Prime the people who run the stations are very well trained. And they're trained to take care of those kinds of matters. And I think if you have an occasion to go to one of their stations, you'll find that they're very well operated. And they can take care of that kind of problem.
With all due respect, it's kind of uncontrollable, whether it's a gas station or not. You know, people coming and going, even if it's for 10 seconds, and the guy comes out and says, turn it down. The neighbors are already woken up at that time with the you know, invention of these newer boombox type things that can vibrate your house. Now, once you're awake at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And the proximity to residential is difficult there. And I would be, and I'm not saying this to be a wise guy, but my suggestion would be that we put a speaker in the gas station, or a microphone, and we put a speaker in the owner's bedroom, and let him handle, let him make the calls when he gets woken up. See if he gets an idea to see how the neighbors feel. And that's just what happens to the neighbors. And I've been there. I've been there in my neighborhood, so I understand it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Well, the only comment I would make is you certainly can't, there's no way to control when someone drives down the street either and passes the houses where neighbors are with those things going on. I'm not sure there's a distinction.
There is.
Thank you. Councilor Sosnowski?
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, I'm looking at these plans now, and I'm sorry that I missed that meeting a couple of weeks ago. However, the plans that I do remember about a year ago called for a different traffic flow, where it would take a lot more cars off of the street and actually bring them further into the property and come back out off of Palmer Street, and that would stop the queuing up on Lafayette Street that everybody's concerned with. And yet, this new plan, as I look at it, is essentially an upgrade to the existing traffic flow. So how is it not going to still impact the,
Well, it's essentially the same plan, Counselor. It may be slightly different, but it's essentially the same plan, and has been vetted by the planning board at length regarding this kind of issue. Actually, we had requested 4 pump stations from the Zoning Board of Appeals. They saw fit to give us only 3. We still think that that will service the cars. It is pushed back considerably from what it was. Those 2 pumps currently are very near the street right now, and they're pushed back considerably and should handle the flow off and get cars off Lafayette Street.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Any other counselors have any other questions, comments? Okay. Is there anyone, Counsel Fury?
Yes, please, Madam President. I've lived next to a sub shop. I've lived next to a fire station. I've lived next to a gas station. This is the city of Salem, 8 square miles with lots of businesses within it. I think it's going to be a positive to the neighborhood, positive to the city of Salem. In this area of Salem, how many gas stations are open to allow people to get gas? When you think of it, this whole area of Salem, that area of Salem, 24 hours a day, this is a 24-hour city. So I think it's a positive for the city, positive for the neighborhood. I've been a part of a neighborhood that has all those things available, and we coexist.
Appreciate that. My only comment would be, we really don't expect that many cars getting gasoline in the middle of the night in this location.
Thank you. Any other comments from councilors? Okay. Is there anyone else in the chamber in favor of the petition? Anyone in the chamber in favor of the petition? Please step forward. Lucy? Councilor Corchado?
Thank you. Good evening. Wouldn't say so much in favor. I guess what I would say is that I would be supportive of a trial period, of a probationary period for the 24 hours, just to test out how things go and the response from the owner or from police, for that matter, in the event that issues do arise. Attorney Atkins was correct in saying that he did meet with the neighborhood association, and the folks who did attend the meeting raised the same concerns with regards to lighting, which he addressed this evening. I know that there were issues with some buffering and you know, some, I think a landlord that abuts the property, which I believe has been pretty much resolved. I have not heard from anyone in regards to, you know, an all right opposition, other than the email that we received from Polly Wilbert. But on behalf of the neighborhood association, I will say that I have not received any calls from anyone in the neighborhood with regards to an outright opposition. And I would be supportive of a trial period. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Is there anyone else in the chamber in support of the petition? Okay. Anyone in the chamber who would like to come up and speak in opposition of the petition, please step forward and state your name and address for the record. Polly?
Holly Wilbert, 7 Cedar Street. Just to give you a sense of where I live at 7 Cedar, which is diagonally across the street from the gas station that presently exists. I can see that station from my living room window. I've lived there since 1982, so I have an experience of 30 years. The gas station has historically closed at 9 p.m. It's never been open later than that. The convenience store has been open until 11 p.m., and that it's never been open later than that. In the summer, when your windows are open, the noise from people going to the convenience station, the slamming of the doors, the radios, the shouting, the people hanging out, and there have been times that I've called the police, but this is over a long period of time. You just can't call the police all the time. I would urge you not to support 24 hours. I would urge you to say that 11 o'clock is sufficient. People live very close to this property. I mean, the abutters live right next door and right behind and right across the street from this station. This is a dense residential area. There are 2 3-story apartment buildings across the street. There are triple deckers right up to, on both sides. There are condominiums next door. There are children in all of these buildings. There are elementary school children in all of these buildings. We deserve quiet enjoyment of our neighborhood. This would be a tremendous change. This is not something that I perceive to be an improvement. We aren't a 24-hour city. The Hess on Derby Street is open 24 hours. It's right down the street and around the corner. It's sufficient to handle whatever 24-hour demand there is that exists in this part of the neighborhood. I would say to you that the site is not conducive for 24 hours. There's no buffering by any other buildings that are going to prevent sound from carrying, and I question whether vegetation is going to do the job. I'm not concerned so much about the lighting because I believe that that can be dealt with, but streams of people who totally, completely disregard and disrespect people already come to this site and they already make noise, and there's been nothing to dissuade them from that behavior, and in 24 hours it's not going to make any difference. Now, your police department, which I know that you and I all respect, has their hands full with closing downtown, with other conditions in this city. I would imagine that we probably have fewer than 20 police officers available in the city on any given shift. They have their hands full on the overnight shift. Between 11 and 7, they're busy. When closing happens downtown, they're busy. I don't think we need to increase their burden by creating another area where they're going to have to deal with issues. One person on a site who is supposed to maintain order is not going to work. You have people who are inebriated in driving. You have people who do not care what the rules and the ordinances of this city are, who are going to be using this site. I think you would be adding to the burden of our police department by creating an additional problem for them to solve. And I don't think that this needs a trial. I think we know already how these things impact the neighbors. And these are all very dense, close residential buildings on all around. Now, I would point out to you that we have some very great neighbors. I would point to you that we have Barabay and Levesque, and they are great neighbors. They have been quiet neighbors on that site, on that street. And I would say those are the kinds of people that we want. We don't want any 24-hour operations. And I would say to you that I am unaware over the 30 years that I've lived at this site of any robberies at either the gas station as it exists today, opening and closing, or the convenience store as it exists today, opening and closing. So I would say to you that I don't give much credence to that argument that 24 hours is safer than opening and closing. There are lots of businesses in Salem that open and close. They don't believe that they need to be open for 24 hours because it's safer. I would ask you not to allow the extended hours and not to allow hours past midnight or 1 a.m. I think 11 o'clock at night is sufficient. We need to have our quiet enjoyment of our homes. We need to have those children be able to sleep so that they can go to school and do well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the chamber in opposition? Please come forward to the podium. Sure, come on up, state your name and address.
I'm Jane Gammon, and I live at 160 Lafayette Street, directly across from the gas station. I don't know how they can say that being open 24 hours is good for the neighborhood. It is not good. She was very good in what she just said. Everything she said, I go along with. There's no reason for it to be open 24 hours. If you want a 24-hour gas station, go down to Hess. We live on a busy, busy street. There is an intersection there that has had numerous accidents. I do not think leaving it open 24 hours is going to be safer for our neighborhood. I really don't. And I think that we put up with a lot of noise. We chose to live there. That's fine. But I don't think that it should be open 24 hours. And I'm all for 11, maybe 12 at the latest. But there's no reason in the world for it to be open 24 hours that would be good for the neighborhood. And there are a lot of children on that side street. And there are a lot of people across the street who do not want this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the chamber in opposition? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Lola Eanes. I'm a direct abutter at 4 Harrison Avenue and I believe 12 Harrison Avenue as well, which are 2 3-family units. Also, I have a 4-family directly across the street from that, but I don't think it's considered an abutter. In those apartments, I do have 10 elementary school children that try to sleep every night. I've owned that property for 34 years, all 3 of them, and I previously owned 12 Palmer Street, which is also adjacent to that property, which I no longer own. So I'm very, very familiar with what goes on there at night. The Point itself has enough of its late-night issues, drug dealings and whatever else might go on down there that we've tried to put a lid on over the years and haven't been extremely successful in doing that. But the boom boxes in these cars, the racing up and down the streets, having this gas station on that corner open 24 hours a day is going to promote drivers and vehicles coming from other areas of the town, not just the local residents to use. And I feel as though they're going to be, when Palmer Street is a one-way street, and if they're coming from the other way, they're going to cut through Harrison Avenue and they're going to go up Palmer Street to get there. And Harrison Avenue is a very narrow street, and the buildings are close to the street. People won't be able to sleep with their windows open because we already have the noise up until the time that they close now. It's going to draw a crowd for hanging around on the corner for whatever reason that they choose to be there at 3 a.m. And not only that, but the fumes from the vehicles, which nobody's mentioned, the fumes from the vehicles waiting to get gas in line or what have you. I know it's a law that you have to shut the engine off when you get gas, but everybody doesn't do that, and you certainly don't while you're waiting in line to get gas. I've seen lines at that gas station with 10 or 15 cars at a time in them during the day. So we have an issue of exhaust pollution. My tenants in those buildings like to sleep with their windows open. All right, it's very noisy there until 10 o'clock at night, even now. And I feel that they're going to be deprived of the ability to be able to do that. And I see absolutely no reason that anybody, almost anybody, has to have gasoline at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay, there is another facility that's open in a commercial area that is not going to cause any residential commotion. I know that when I owned the property at 12 Palmer Street, I had difficulty then trying to rent the apartments out just because of what was there then. And that was the service garage was there at the time, and they were closed at 6 o'clock at night, but there were numerous vehicles there, overnight and everything. The lights, I don't know what kind of lighting they're going to be putting in, but has anybody addressed the headlights from all these vehicles that come and go and turn around and make U-turns in the middle of Lafayette Street or Palmer Street, go down Palmer Street the wrong way because, whoops, they didn't notice, and down Harrison Avenue, speeding. and just being in this area at 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning is going to be a nuisance for my tenants in my buildings.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the chamber in opposition? Linda? Oh, go ahead. Yeah, Linda, and then TC. Name and address for the record, please.
I'm Linda Locke. I live at 1 Pickering Street, but I own the property directly across from where the convenience store is going to be, 7 Palmer, where it is, there's the garage, yes, there's a garage and a driveway right there. That's a 3-family house, and I also own the one right next to it at 1315 Palmer. One of my long-term tenants is here. I don't know if she'll speak, but she's lived there for 40 years. She would like not to see this sort of thing, the hours extended. Relatives of the people that live at 7 Palmer also live at 5 Palmer, which is right in the, thick of things here. There was a petition that went around for the neighborhood. There were probably about 600 people that signed the petition that were not in favor of this development. I don't know what happened to that. Maybe somebody didn't attend the meeting. There's, maybe 10 people at a meeting, but of the Point Neighborhood Association, but there isn't anybody I've ever spoken with that's been in favor of the extension of this, making this a large commercial site in a residential neighborhood. Anything that speaks to that and further develops it and makes more lighting or more noise or more traffic or more fumes is not acceptable. My tenants in these buildings were devastated to learn that this was going to be a huge, increase in a commercial, making a commercial setting out of this. I have young children who are, on the first floor at 7 Palmer. They play in the driveway. They put their little kiddie pool there. They don't want to look out and see. What they used to look out and see was the garage that closed at 5, so it was quiet and dark. They liked the neighbor who used to own the convenience store, and they'd go over to him, but he closed it. There wasn't an issue anymore, but in the past is what I'm saying. People aren't that live in my buildings are not in favor of the lighting, the extension of hours, the additional traffic. It's probably the second or third most worst intersection in the city of Salem anyway, so that's just adding to the problem. But it's, I just don't understand how this happened. I went to the planning board meeting personally, but I did not go to the zoning board meeting. But this, Lafayette Street is a beautiful street, and why make this a commercial site? This historically, from the 20s was a small operation, and that's how we would have liked to have kept it. So we're definitely not in favor of, more anything that's commercial. And, the kids, the people I know that live there have, don't have air conditioners in every window, and the children are outside, and, all summer. It's just, it's unacceptable, and I'm trying to represent them.
Thank you. Is there, okay, TC, please, come forward.
T.C. Riley Gargan, 9 Wisteria Street. I own property on Upper Lafayette Street, and I pretty much want to reiterate what Linda Locke just shared with you. But the other thing is, I'm not quite sure, but I believe in neighborhoods, is it a B1 zoning that they probably started out with? But so I don't understand how they went from a couple of pumps a number of years back in probably a mom and pop type of operation, that they now have a franchise coming in that has 50 stations out there. They're coming into this community to make money, and I'm not against making money, but I'm just saying at the expense of whom? And what? Our children? You look at to the left of where I'm standing, looking at it in my mind's eye, and I see the St. Joseph project that is going to be 51 apartments there. I look for the beautification that they're trying to make in the area. And I don't think a large franchise gasoline station is anything to rave home about or talk about it being beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please come forward.
Hi, my name's Pam Anderson. I don't live in Salem, I live in North Andover, but I own the properties at 176, 182 Lafayette Street, and 7 Cedar Street where Polly lives. I'm directly across the street from this project. I also am opposed to it, again, for the sound. The motorcycles, the noise, the confusion that's down there now is bad enough. 1, 2, or 3 o'clock in the morning. I have folks that are nurses. I have folks that need to get up early, people that have to sleep during the days. It's bad enough down there now with noise. We don't need it at night. And as far as the security is concerned, I have security cameras in my buildings. There are certainly services that monitor things overnight, 24 hours. You have the video cameras. There's a lot of things that can be done for security other than leaving that unit open 24 hours a day. And I think that should be explored for the neighborhood. It's a residential neighborhood by and large. There is a little bit of commercial development that's been there probably since the fire, but there's no reason to continue it and make it bigger than what's there now. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the chamber that would like to come up and speak in opposition to the petition? There being none. Any councilors have any additional comments? I will ask Attorney Atkins to come back forward. Councilor McCarthy?
No, if you want to turn, I was just going to...
Attorney Atkins, did you want to come back up and speak again?
We're certainly sensitive to the kinds of comments that have been made, but I want to only emphasize for everyone who spoke and for the councilors, I want you to think about what's there now. 4 existing businesses, one of which has a liquor license, and this is not the creation of a larger kind of facility. It's actually improving and reducing the business activities on this site. It's not increasing it. Yes, it's an increase from 2 pumps to 3 pumps, but that is an effort to solve the traffic problem that has been happening on Lafayette Street. So I just emphasize that this is not a large increase in what's already there and has been there commercially for a long period of time. Having somebody on site can also allow for things to be corrected that may be impacting neighbors. And this company is very good at that. They'll react to that. They'll respond to it. And I think that that would be an improvement rather than just leaving something empty and dark.
Thank you. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the hearing be closed. No one else wants to speak on the matter?
Councilor McCarthy moves that the hearing be closed. Councilor McCarthy?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to make a few comments relative to what was just been said. I agree with Attorney Atkins on the fact that I think it's going to be a vast improvement. Approximately a year and a half ago, maybe even longer now, when Councilor O'Keefe was chair of Licensed Order Legal Affairs, we did have major issues with regards to the convenience store, the liquor deliveries, queuing up of the traffic on Lafayette Street. I attended the zoning board meeting, the planning board meeting. I think the plan has morphed over the last year or so to the point where he has all those approvals. Everything, some of the things that were commented about is outside of our jurisdiction with regards to the plantings, the screening, the fencing, all of that. That's all of that has been addressed over the last year or so. We've gone through the process. Right now, we're here to talk about 24 hours, and I'm going to harken back to, I think, one of the first conversations I had with the owner and with Attorney Atkins on this, and I respect Attorney Atkins on this, but and I respect everyone's opinions, but mine has always been baby steps with regards to this. I look at this site, I think the combined uses, that paring it down to 2 businesses, I think is going to be a good thing. I think the queuing of the traffic off of Lafayette Street, if you really have time to look at the plan and vested through the plan over the last year, I think it's really going to help. I think it's going to provide some of that queuing. But I also take to heart some of the comments of what was just said with regards to the St. Joe's project and the traffic. We haven't even got the traffic lights implemented there yet. I'm a little leery of taking this next leap of faith until everything's up and running over there. And I'm not opposed to down the road entertaining the idea of 24 hours again, seeing what happens down on that site. But right now, with everything that's going on, with the traffic lights that we went to put up, still haven't been able to be implemented for I don't know what reason, but they're still not working, which I think is a big pedestrian issue down there right now. I know that I feel that in the long run, that the site's I think it's gonna work out. I think that a lot of the unknown when you talk about these things, you talk about lighting and what's gonna happen. I know I'll be supportive of the next hearing with regards to increasing the flammable license, because I think that's a good thing for all the reasons that Councilor O'Keefe has told me over the years about less deliveries and better tanks underground and safer and all that. I think that's a good thing. I know I've talked to the fire chief about that as well, but that's a separate issue. But I think for right now, I can't support 24 hours right now, but I'm not gonna say that down the road if they came back to me, if I'm still in this seat or someone else is in the seat, a year or so from now, 24 hours might be the right thing for that site, but right now I think there's just too many unknowns, and I think personally it's not quite the right fit. I want to see the site up and running. I'm very supportive. From day one, I've been supportive of the revamping of the gas station and the combined use of tearing it down. I think the site's going to work, but right now, I personally, and I respect everyone else's opinion on this, my colleagues can vote the way they feel. But I think that right now, I'm just going to take a step back and say, baby steps on this one. Let's go slow. Let's get the gas station up and built and running and see how it affects the neighbors, see how it affects the neighborhood, and see if it works, and then take that maybe down the road, entertain that idea of the next step. So that's how I feel.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Sargent.
Thank you, Madam President. I don't support this so close to residential property or any residential property. I mean, being open 24 hours is good for the owners. That's it. It's good for the owners, it's good for their business, no matter how they describe it, it's good for them. We have enough 24-hour gas stations in Salem. Just Boston Street and North Street alone, enough to serve the people of Salem. Places like Marblehead don't have them, and this would be the closest one to Marblehead. And crime must be rampant in Marblehead without them, but somehow they're surviving over there. You know, Marblehead likes to come over to Salem, and Marblehead and Swampscott come to Salem and Lynn for late night hours. Hamilton and Wenham go to Beverly for late night hours. Linfield goes to Peabody for late night hours. And they all go home to a nice quiet town. We're very liberal with our hours. 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. by right. Better than most towns that I've ever heard of, by right. 17 hours a day for business. 7 hours a day for residents for reasonable peace and quiet. And businesses keep coming in and they want those 7 hours. If you had $24, anybody here, and I was going to give you 17 out of 24, that'd be a pretty good deal. But I want to put my hand in your other pocket and take the 7 too. That's just not fair. Not fair at all. We wouldn't want this so close to our homes, any of us. None of us. We wouldn't want it for our families. And what makes us any better than any of these abutters? What makes our families any better and have any other right to reasonable peace and quiet enjoyment of our property than they do, and have our family and our kids be able to sleep at night? There's a lot of kids down the point. They shouldn't be woken up in the middle of the night. They've got to be able to go up and go to school tomorrow, the next day, and get a decent education. Those of you who would vote to support this, I ask you to give these abutters your phone number and let them call you. Give them your cell phone number. Let them call you when they get disturbed at night. And let's see how quick you are to vote for something like this then. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Turiel.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm also opposed to 24-hour operation for this. I do believe that this project is overall going to be a benefit to the neighborhood in its construction. I think it's going to help with the traffic problems that we have on Lafayette Street right now. Having the extra pump will help take some of that capacity. So that'll be an improvement. Also, right now, I think some of the people who go there because the gas is pumped for them, and it's one of the only places left on the planet that does that. And so that will also affect a change. So this is overall in the higher capacity of the tank that's proposed. I think that's also good for the facility. There will be fewer trips in by the trucks, so we'll have a further improvement there. However, this property itself is a very small B1 parcel that's surrounded by residential property. It's surrounded by residential property down into Councilor McCarthy's ward. It's surrounded by residential property into Ward 5. And I took the liberty over the last couple of weeks of asking the people who live on those adjacent streets, on Cedar Street, on Fairfield Street, and around there on Cherry Street. I asked for feedback from people who lived in that area, and all the feedback I got was opposed of it. 7 people responded, which is fairly good involvement for that area. The 7 people responded to me were all opposed to 24-hour operation there. A couple of people did suggest that maybe they could operate later than 10 p.m. like they traditionally do. There was one person who thought they would be fine open till midnight. One person who lived several blocks away thought that, well, maybe they could try 24-hour operation and see how that went. But generally speaking, the prevailing weight of the neighborhood seems to be very much against 24-hour operation. And given that it's a small business property that's surrounded entirely by residential property, I would have to agree with that. Maybe if this development goes forward and takes place and it becomes a real benefit to the neighborhood and it's run well and the neighbors are all happy with that point, maybe we can entertain that down the road. But at this point, I don't see it appropriate to grant a license for 24-hour operation.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion by members of the council? There being none, we actually did not take the vote to close the public hearing. All those in favor, opposed, so voted on the petition. Madam City Clerk, do we need a roll call vote, or? We need a motion. Counselor, do we have a motion on the floor
Move for a roll call vote.
for approval?
Excuse me?
For approval?
Are you asking for a roll call vote? Or
I'm asking for a motion.
They have a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would move to deny the petition.
Counselor McCarthy moves to deny the petition. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Ryan. Do I have 3 hands for a roll call vote? There being 3 hands. Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
President, point of clarification. We're used to having something proposed and we vote yea or nay.
Right.
Let's be clear that this is a move to deny. So a yea is deny and a nay is to approve. Okay, let's keep the language straight.
Thank you.
Counselor Carr?
Yes.
Counselor Fury?
Nay.
Counselor O'Keefe?
Nay.
Counselor McCarthy?
Yay.
Counselor Prevey?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Sargent?
Yes.
Counselor Siegel?
Yes.
Counselor Sosnowski?
Yes.
Counselor Terrell?
Yes.
Counselor Lovely?
Yes. Eleven councilors voting, 9 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative. The matter carries. Further hearings.
We have an
Attorney Atkins?
application for an increase of inflammable license for a total of 40,000 gallons at 175 Lafayette Street.
Apologize for taking so much time. I'll be very brief. This is simply an increase in the gallonage that will allow the station to have fewer deliveries, as I indicated before. Also, it'll be safer because the most dangerous time for spills is when there's a delivery. My client estimates that it'll reduce the deliveries by half. The equipment is state-of-the-art. You will notice if you had the plans that I gave you, there is a provision on the plans that says if there are any new regulations that come down in the meantime from state agencies, this company will adhere to them. In fact, their engineer tells me that they go beyond the regulations in terms of the latest kinds of techniques. They have monitoring systems inside the tank lines. They monitor them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, both from an off-site location, and they have a monitoring system inside. So this should improve this site considerably, and we would ask that the license issue for the amended inflammables.
Thank you. Counsel McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I have spoken to our resident expert, Councilor O'Keefe, on this, who said everything counts. And I've also spoken to Chief Cody about this, who reviewed the plans. I think that it makes total sense, myself personally. From everything I've heard from them, I'd entertain having Chief Cody come up and speak to the issue. But I am in favor of this application.
Thank you. Councilor O'Keefe.
Through you, Madam President, that Chief Cody is here, And if you want to ask him his professional opinion, he's much more qualified to render judgment than I am. But as I explained to the colleagues, that station now is a problem because if you have a fill on your left side of your car or a fill on your right, or you have a fill in back of your license plate, you have a problem going in that station because it's got to go in one way as it is now. And I've been in that station and people have come up Palmer Street against the one-way and have come in and tried to get fueled. Now, it's dangerous operation. Gasoline is not pumping milk. It's dangerous. And it's one of the only stations in Salem that does not have a fire extinguishing system installed. All self-service stations now, by state law, for the last 30 years, have required a system in there that goes off if there's a flame or fire or someone pulls a handle at the attendant station. It has a whole, like an extinguisher at home, all the dry chemicals, dry powder, bicarbonate soda goes everywhere in the station in about 53 seconds. Puts the fire out. It doesn't have that. So we need this for safety reasons, for fuel deliveries. They can pull the tankers up on the street. And for the neighborhood, it's going to be an improvement of me sitting in line down here, hollering at people that come the wrong way and telling the poor attendant that works for Mr. Boussier to have them back out, which is a big traffic jam, as the neighbors would attest to. I think it's an important thing is to have this improvement in the station. I hope the neighbors could work once it's put up, and if they could see the merits of a 24-hour operation, which I support. I think they're much safer when everything is running all the time and the meters and all the sophisticated measuring and metering systems they have are on all the time and they're monitored and what have you. With the state's new regulations on underground storage tanks, it's going to impact this station. And the operators are going to have to be trained A, B, and C, which I think they're being now. So I support this increase, and so does, I believe, if you want Chief Cody, a resident expert, much more qualified than me. He's here, and he approves the installation, as you see on the documents before us, which by statute, Mass General Law, Chapter 148, Section 13, is needed his approval, and we have it.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors have any comments before I open this to the audience? Okay, is there anyone appearing in favor of the petition? Please step forward and state your name and address. Anyone in favor of the petition? Okay. Is there anyone appearing opposed to the petition? Please step forward and state your name and address and comments. Anyone opposed to the petition? Okay, there being none. Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. Chief, do you have anything to add? No? You're all set?
Just want to say that from the fire department standpoint.
Please, Chief Cody.
Chief Cody, Salem Fire. From the fire department standpoint, we have no problem with the increase in storage. And what we see it as a good thing, anytime you can add double wall monitored tanks is a good thing for us. We have no leaks underground. And also, it does reduce the number of deliveries per day or per year. And that's another good thing for the city. So, speaking with Lieutenant Griffin, we have no problem.
Thank you, Chief. Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the hearing be closed.
Council McCarthy moves the hearing be closed. All those in favor, opposed, so voted.
I further move to approve the application for increased flammable.
Hold on one second. Could we just, I didn't see that Linda Locke had her hand up. Before we close
I
the
withdraw my
public
motion to close the hearing.
public hearing, okay. There being no objection. Linda, would you please come up?
I just wanted to go on record again as opposing this because it represents more capacity and a larger commercial enterprise by having larger tanks. I also think that if there was any, earthquake or, a terrible thing, catastrophe going, you've got more flammables. It's 3 times as much that's under the ground now. And it's right next to a residential area that doesn't want it. The neighbors don't want this. We are the neighbors. I'm speaking for the neighbors.
Thank you. Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the hearing be closed.
All those in favor, opposed, so voted. Council McCarthy.
I further move for approval or adoption of the application for the increased flammable license for a total of 40,000 gallons.
Thank you. There being no further discussion, do we see 3 hands for a roll call vote? Thank you. Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Carr?
Yes.
Counselor Fury?
Yes.
Counselor O'Keefe?
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy?
Yes.
Counselor Prevey?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Sargent?
No.
Counselor Siegel?
Yes.
Counselor Sosnowski?
Yes.
Counselor Turiel?
Yes.
Counselor Lovely?
Yes. 11 councilors voting, 10 in the affirmative, one in the negative. The matter carries. Council McCarthy, do you move for immediate reconsideration?
Thank you, President. I move for immediate reconsideration in hopes it does not prevail.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed?
Opposed.
The nays have it. Thank you. Council McCarthy, you want to move for a 1-minute recess to allow the chamber to clear?
So moved.
Thank you.
Keep it open.
Appointments and reappointments.
Held from the last meeting, the mayor's appointment of Patricia H. Donahue to serve on the Cemetery Commission with a term to expire February 1st, 2013.
Councilor Creevy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
There being no objection, Councilor Creevy.
Thank you, Madam President. I also move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Under discussion.
Thank you. Patricia Donahue is a resident of Ward 6. She is here tonight in the chamber. The mayor has put her name forward for consideration to be appointed on the Cemetery Commission, and I'm very happy that the administration has decided to put Ms. Donahue on the Cemetery Commission. Recently, Ms. Donahue was made chair, and I think I was one of the people that kind of pushed her in that direction, chair of the Friends of Greenlawn Cemetery. It's a new neighborhood group that was formed in Ward 6, centered around some of the improvements and the support that's needed at Greenlawn Cemetery, given the historical nature of it and its national significance that it has. Ms. Donahue took that lead in doing that. There's been several meetings about that to really kind of get around some of the issues there to improve the cemetery. And she put her name forward to be put on the Cemetery Commission, and I couldn't think of anyone else in Ward 6, in my ward, that would do a better job than Ms. Donahue. She's a very committed resident of the city. She's actively involved in many different things. She currently is a member of on the Council on Aging. She served on that for a number of years already. Very active in the neighborhood groups, and always has certainly an opinion, always willing to listen to other people, and in terms of serving on the Cemetery Commission and really kind of expanding the role and making sure that the commission meets on a regular basis and does a fantastic job. I think that's something that Ms. Donahue is going to bring to the table. So I'm very happy about her appointment and look forward to an unanimous vote for her. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Creevy. Any further discussion? Councilor O'Keefe.
Again, a little personal relationship with Pat. Actually, I didn't. She just refreshed my memory. We actually went to school together down at St. Mary's, and she lived at Carlton Street at the time. And
A lot older.
Well, I was a couple of years ahead of her. But she worked with my mother. My mother was a nurse at Salem Hospital, and she was a medical technician for 40-some years up in that practice. And I disagree. Sometimes I'm voting always against whatever Pat wants to, but I'm going to vote for it tonight, so it's a positive thing tonight. But she's going to bring a lot of expertise and care and concern to our son's grave up there at Greenlawn Cemetery. And Sean's up there, and I appreciate everything you're going to do for the Cemetery Commission and all the other souls that are up there. Good appointment by Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor.
Those are teaching.
Any further discussion? There being none, Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Carr?
Yes.
Counselor Fury?
Yes.
Counselor O'Keefe?
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy?
Yes.
Counselor Prevey?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Sargent?
Yes.
Counselor Siegel?
Yes.
Counselor Sosnowski?
Yes.
Counselor Turiel?
Yes.
Counselor Lovely?
Yes. 11 councilors voting, 11 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The matter carries. Councilor Creevy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules to allow Ms. Donahue to address the council.
Thank you. Pat?
Well, thank you, everyone, for your encouragement and for your vote. I'm very happy to be involved in this particular venture. I have a dedicated group already, members of Friends of Greenlawn. We're looking forward to increasing its appearance, looking forward to probably giving it some historic significance and search for funds and grants to do that. There's much you can do in this city, and there are many people present here who also do very much for the city, just regular citizens, and I think we're very fortunate. And I want to thank all the council members for the hard work that you all do, too. Thank you very much.
Further appointments and reappointments.
We have the mayor's reappointment of the following department heads with the following terms to expire: Doug Boland, Nina Bridgman, Lisa Camarada, Lynn Goonan, Duncan, John Giardi, James Hacker, Deborah Jackson, David Knowlton, Richard Renard, Tom St. Pierre, Richard Viscay, and Kathy Wynn.
Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I'd move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Any discussion?
I would just like to thank the department heads that showed up tonight for their reappointments. Obviously, I know that some of them probably had conflicts, but for the department heads that did show up, and, you know, after almost 2 hours of public hearings to be here, it says a lot that this reappointment means a lot, so I want to thank them for showing up tonight.
Thank you. Council Fury.
Yes, please, Madam President. I think we're very lucky to have each and every one of them be renominated tonight, each one of them to serve the city of Salem. They are tenacious and talented professionals who give their heart and soul to the city of Salem and make us shine, make the city council shine, make the city shine every single day, 365 days. And we're very lucky to have each and every one of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? There being none, Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilor Carr?
Yes.
Councilor Fury?
Yes.
Councilor O'Keefe?
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilor Prevey?
Yes.
Councilor Ryan?
Yes.
Councilor Sargent?
Yes.
Councilor Siegel?
Yes.
Councilor Sosnowski?
Yes.
Councilor Turiel?
Yes.
Councilor Lovely?
Yes. 11 councilors voting, 11 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The matter carries. At this time, thank you, all department heads, for being here tonight. At this time, I'm going to take a couple of things out of order. Would you please, at this time, move to page
14.
Well, actually, I'm going to skip over, we're going to take a couple of matters out of order for the mayor, but before we go to that, I'd like to go to page 18 under petitions. A petition from Attorney George Atkins on behalf of Bartlett and Stedman to name certain streets in a new subdivision located off Dell Street in Ward 4. Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Madam President. This petition is to name 3 streets, I believe it is. I'd like to have Attorney Atkins come up and suspension of the rules so he could speak on this issue.
There being no objection, Attorney Atkins.
Thank you.
Probably exceeded my privilege as a former city councilor at this point, but thank you for hearing me again and out of order. These are 3 streets in a development that has been approved by the planning board, and you have as part of the package a copy of the plan that's been filed with the recorded land section of the Registry of Deeds. I checked the city clerk's street list to make sure there's no conflict in names. There is nothing close to Martin Lane. Nurse Way, the closest I could find would be Nursery Street, which seems quite distinct. And Good Circle, the closest, I never realized that there was a street by the name of Good Hope Lane somewhere in Salem. That was news to me. And the other closest would be Goodell or Goodhue. So I don't think there's any comparison in the name, so there'll be no confusion. This is not a street acceptance. This is only a street naming. It is a dual role of the city council to both name and accept. I think the naming has been probably not done in all instances, but this will only be listed as an unaccepted street in the list of streets, but will enable the building inspector to issue the proper building permits for the houses that are being built there.
Thank you. Councilor O'Keefe.
Through you, Attorney Atkins. Through you, ma'am. On this time on the council, about 16 years, the first time I've heard someone, an attorney, come forward who knew the rules to come forward and ask the city council to allow the naming of streets. The first time. Usually it's all just filed with the Registry of Deeds and it's done.
Right.
And this is the first time, and I salute you, attorney, for at least you won on this one. You didn't win on some of the others, but you won on this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Councilor Ryan?
Thank you, Madam President. Like Councilor O'Keefe said, he actually came up, this is the first time I've seen it, and addressed all the concerns that usually bring up about similar street names and everything. So I don't have a problem with it. So I would make a motion that I recommend approval of the street names. It was a Good Circle, Nurse Way, and Martin Lane.
Thank you. On Councilor Ryan's motion for approval, there being no further Councilor O'Keefe.
That'd be another remark?
Yes.
Point, person? Just for the new members of the city council, we have 2 street names, two series of names that are confusing. One is in Ward 6 up there, and one is in Ward 3. And Felt and Phelp. So if you're in the fire department and your call is a murder on Phelp Street, it's P-H-E-L-P. Phelp Street's off of Broad in Ward 3. And if your call and says Felt Street, fires in Felt Street's up in Ward 6 off of Dearborn. So that's one of the instances. So that, at least Attorney Aston's coming forward, we don't have that similarity tonight, but imagine, when I was a boy, there was a fire on Briggs Street. And we live on Briggs Street, and the fire was at Bridge Street. And I don't know how they confuse Bridge and Briggs, but I know they all apparatus, and I was about that high. I went to Bridge Street. My father said, you always got to be careful, Briggs and Bridge. And here we have a perfect example tonight. He's doing it the right way. And no more Phelp. Imagine that, Phelp and Felt. I mean, it's a mouthful just getting it out. And as the planner knows, he knows the difference.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Councilor O'Keefe. Any further discussion? There being none, on approval of the petition, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Thank you, Attorney Atkins. Now we will go to page 14 under committee reports. And I would actually invite the mayor to come speak on the matter of the resolution to support the MBTA's request for waiver of submittal of the EIR report. Mayor?
Thank you. Appreciate you taking this out of order and giving me a chance to communicate largely about what is a really important issue for the city. I think most of you know, for the better part of the last 20 years, the city has been seeking a new parking garage and station upgrades and improvements at Salem Station. We really see this, and I think many members of the community, as evidenced by the great turnout at a number of public hearings on the project, see this as a critical improvement, not only for commuters who use this facility on a daily basis, and I say facility, I'm using that term loosely, those of us who know what the facility currently looks like. It's a platform right off the North River. Commuters who use it on a daily basis, but also for the visitors, for a number of downtown workers who commute to work, sort of do the reverse commute and use the train system, as well as college students, and the whole array of users that currently today are able to take the train into Boston. And frequently it's available, but it's not very comfortable. One of the keys to our downtown, and we know that from speaking with many of the folks who have invested downtown, is that access to Boston, being able to take that train in as frequent as we can. But there are hindrances. We don't have enough parking. Handicap access is limited, that half-high platform all the way down at one end of the station. There is no lobby, nothing to protect you from the wind or the elements, and even pedestrian access into the station is something that we hope to address to make it safer, to make it a little bit more user-friendly. We'll also be able to stabilize the historic watchtower on the site, as well as do work under the parking lot where the old wheelhouse is to make sure we're adequately preserving or documenting that particular issue. The biggest hurdle we have right now is time. The MBTA has filed an expanded environmental notification form, or an ENF, that really has taken most of the issues that you'd find in an EIR and addressed them as fully as you possibly could imagine. They are seeking a waiver from the filing of a complete environmental impact report. The trigger for the environmental impact report is because this property abuts the North River. It's in what's the Chapter 91 guidelines, so it's automatic for an EIR. However, by filing the expanded ENF, they are seeking a waiver from the Secretary of Environmental Affairs, indicating that we've provided you with all the information, we've done a lot of the due diligence on the environmental issues and conditions, and in fact, as public transit, in many respects, increasing access to it is actually going to help the environment, and they are hoping to obtain a waiver for one very good reason. I should say two very good reasons: time and money. If we don't obtain the waiver, the project will be delayed by 12 to 15 months. Right now, they're planning on starting construction, assuming we get the waiver, this spring. That is phenomenal. We're working very closely to tie up the Universal Steel site so we can have that available for temporary parking. Construction will start in the spring. It'll be done in about a year, and we won't have to wrestle with another long winter for commuters on that station. If we're not able to obtain the waiver, it's a 12 to 15 month delay, not to mention the cost of going forward and obtaining that waiver, the reports that need to be filed, and just time. We've seen far too often, if you don't start a project on time, especially one with state funding, and this has over $35 million in state resources that are being brought to bear here, it can go away. It can disappear. It can go another direction. It can fund another project. Beverly has their project. They're into the ground. They're going to be completed. We want to be right on their heels to make sure we're adequately serving the commuters, the workers, the visitors, the users of our train station. Just last night, the Historic Commission unanimously voted to support the waiver. The city's Conservation Commission has also voted to support the waiver. There's a long list of entities in town, the Salem Partnership. George is wearing a lot of hats, but he's also the former president of the Salem Partnership. They have supported this waiver and been our allies, frankly, as we've recruited and lobbied state government to pay attention to what was going on down there. One of the busiest commuter rail stations in the system, and it's a platform. They heard what we said. They put the money up, not just the first $30 million, but the extra $5 million to make sure we had a decent-sized garage and amenities that we're going to need for the future going forward, covered canopies, walkways that allow us to really live a civilized commuter style. None of us, I think, I'm looking around the room, none of us regularly commute. We have either the luxury of working in our own community or working close to home, but there are a heck of a lot of Salem residents who do, and I really don't want them to be an extra winter out in that weather, and I'm hoping the council will consider not delaying this project, supporting the waiver that so many others have signed on to, so we can get this project moving and get it moving quickly. I realized there was some herky-jerkiness with the council meeting, and it sounded like, with the committee meeting earlier, and it sounded like there was some questions or concern. I'm happy to answer any questions I can. It is an MBTA project, but to be honest, this has been our baby. We've been working with the partnership, with all kinds of officials in the community to push them to do this. So I feel like I have enough information that I hopefully can answer questions if there are any, or certainly get you the information if you need it. But critical for us is to stand as a city. Our state rep, our state senator, they help lobby for the money. They're supporting the waiver. Certainly I am as well, and I hope our legislative body can do the same. And we do have an opportunity. It sounded like this was tied up in committee, but under the council rules, if 8 members of this body support pulling this out of the committee, we can vote on it this evening. Just pulling it out. We need 8 to pull it out, and then however folks want to vote, obviously they can vote any way they wish. But it would certainly be, I think, unfortunate if the council didn't go on record, or if members aren't supportive, if there's something we can do to find a way for you to support the opportunity for others who are to vote on an important issue, I'd certainly appreciate it. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Councilor Turiel.
Thank you, Madam President. If there are no questions for the mayor, then I would move that under Section 38 that we take a vote to see if we get a 2/3 majority to discharge this from committee.
Madam President?
So that's your motion?
Yes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Councilor O'Keefe, second.
Thank you. I'd like to, just for the audience here and the audience at home, read Section 38.
Madam President?
Councilor Sosnowski?
Before we do that, shouldn't we have the committee chairman
I haven't even read the
just
committee.
give his report of what happened in the committee first, and then explain Rule 38?
That makes sense.
Well, there was, if you want to tell what happened in committee, there's no, sure, absolutely. Councilor Ryan.
All right. We have the meeting of the Committee on Community Economic Development, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter regarding the resolution to support the MBTA's request for waiver of submittal of environmental impact report, has considered said matter and would recommend the matter stays in committee. Under discussion?
Well, that's not what happened, though.
Well, as I was saying, there was a vote 2-2, so it had to stay in the committee.
But the vote wasn't to have it stay in committee. It failed. So what happened in committee, because I was part of the committee meeting, it failed. So it automatically stayed in committee.
Yeah.
So
it's in committee.
Right.
So it didn't come out. And there was only 4, out of the 5 committee members, only 4 were there. The vote was 2-2. Council Prevey was not present at the time.
So on acceptance of Councilor Ryan's committee report, all those in favor, opposed, so voted on adoption of the recommendation, which is really, it's really informational. There being no recommendation. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Turiel, the motion before us is to discharge the matter from committee invoking rule, Section 38, and let me read it. Section 38, discharging matters from committee. No matter previously referred to a standing committee of the City Council shall of any subsequent meeting of the Council be discharged from such committee without a majority vote in favor of such discharge by the members of the committee to whom the matter was referred, or a 2/3 vote of the city council. So because the matter did not have a majority vote coming out of committee, the matter is now before the full council. That needs 8 votes to discharge the matter from committee to have us be able to take it up to debate it. Is there any questions? Councilor O'Keefe?
I move a roll call vote on this issue.
Can I see 3 hands for a roll call vote? There being 3 hands. Councilor Sosnowski, did you have a question?
Well, are we going to have discussion on the pros and cons of the merits of this? And at what point?
Well, it has to be put before us
Before
for
you can
discussion. So it needs 8 votes to be discharged from committee, to be put before the council for discussion.
That's right.
If it does not attain 8 votes,
right.
it's not discussed.
That's right.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Carr?
Yes.
Counselor Fury?
Yes.
Counselor O'Keefe?
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy?
Yes.
Counselor Prevey?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Sargent?
Yes.
Counselor Siegel?
Yes.
Counselor Sosnowski?
Yes.
Counselor Turiel?
Yes.
Counselor Lovely?
Yes. 11 councilors voting, 11 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The matter now stands before the committee, before the council for debate. Councilor Fury.
Madam President, it would be to delay or defer this would be a deep injustice to the city of Salem, to the commuters, to the citizens of Salem that have been waiting a long time. This is the second round of a garage in the city of Salem. This is the time. Sincerely, all the economic engines, all the major forces in the city of Salem, in a great partnership, Salem Hospital, Salem State University, PBS Essex Museum, all the major forces came up in this open, public, transparent process that the MBTA had in a number of meetings, meetings at the Carleton School. I attended most of those meetings, and I spoke up and discussed the issue too. It's a very open, transparent issue. To delay or defer this would be an injustice. Most of the questions that have been answered and raised tonight have been answered there. We need to move this into the 21st century, move it into a reality stage. The citizens of Salem deserve nothing less than a first-class garage, hopefully heated, hopefully air-conditioned, but something for the whole city to use. Beverly will have theirs. We need ours. We're more, as the mayor said, we're more popular than more busier than the city of Beverly. To defer or delay this would be a deep injustice. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. Before we debate this any further, could Councilor Ryan, being the chair of the committee, could he present the resolution? Because for the clarification of those members that weren't able to attend the meeting, so we can have an understanding of exactly what we're going to debate. I mean, I know there's a resolution on everyone's desk, and everyone has a chance to read it. I know one of the actions that came out of committee was that the resolution itself would have amended language, which everyone has in front of them. It's the language that mimics the order, which has a highlighted yellow. I think that was an amendment that was approved in committee, but I think that it would be beneficial if Council Ryan spoke to that.
Thank you, Councilor McCarthy. Councilor Ryan.
All right, thank you, Madam President. I'll read the resolution. Actually, also in that committee, we added one more section to the resolution. I'll read the whole thing. Resolution, whereas Salem is a destination location for tourism, attraction, higher education, medical services, and much more, whereas the city of Salem has one of the most active commuter rail stops in the north of Boston region, whereas the current Salem commuter rail station is woefully insufficient to serve the many daily commuters, visitors, and residents who utilize public transportation, whereas a new MBTA intermodal station and parking garage in Salem has been in the pipeline for over 20 years, whereas the Massachusetts Department of Transportation and the MBTA have made a commitment to fund a $35 million new state-of-the-art intermodal station and parking garage in the city of Salem, whereas the MBTA intermodal station and parking garage project is critical investment to meet the future parking, transportation, and economic needs of Salem and the region, whereas the plans to improve the Salem commuter rail station are at the 30% design phase, and this is the section we added on right here, whereas the project would not impede future development of the rail extension to Peabody, nor would it prevent improved access from the North River area, whereas it is important that the project remain on the current timeline with construction to begin next year, whereas the garage site directly abuts the North River and triggers MEPA environmental review. And whereas the MBTA has filed an expanded ENF, which covers many of the same criteria that would be reviewed under the EIR, now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Salem wholeheartedly supports a waiver of an EIR submittal for the Salem Intermodal Station and Parking Garage, as it is critical to the city, the North of Boston region, our residents, commuters, and the tourism industry for the project to advance swiftly and encounter no further delays.
Thank
And
you,
that is
Counselor.
the resolution that we will be sending in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Terrio.
Read that again?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to make one point for the benefit mainly of those in the audience and those who are watching this. This statement, should we adopt it, does not guarantee that that a waiver will be granted. It's merely a letter of support from the City Council that, along with many other letters that have been submitted by Salem organizations like the partnership, that are also in support of it. So it's just one more arrow being sent to try and encourage this waiver to be granted.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Sosnowski.
Thank you, Madam President. We're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here. Everybody wants this because everybody agrees this place is woefully inadequate as it stands right now. And I applaud the mayor for being able to get the additional funding for an additional floor, because without that additional floor, the net gain in parking spaces wouldn't even been worth the effort to do the whole thing in the first place. That being said, I need to tell you that I represent a lot of neighbors that walk to this place, both from north of it, south of it, east of it. And most of the problems that they have is pedestrian access, and it is absolutely not being discussed at all right? The other part about this, when we have all the commuters that we have to service properly, we have two types of services. We have the pedestrians, but we also have the vehicle service. They have a great plan for once you're inside the station, but they don't have any plan for all that increased traffic and still only one entry and one exit point for all that traffic. And yet that's not being addressed. Where before, it was addressed. We needed the grade, what they call the grade level exchange at Washington and Bridge Street. That would have been the second point. We were also going to talk about potentially going up the side by HMA to have another exit point so you could leave there and go into Ward 6 area. There was a lot of things that were discussed to help alleviate that choke point, which is the singular driveway supporting the entire place. The traffic experts tell us it's not going to be a problem. But these are the same traffic experts that I've been living with their decisions on Bridge Street that have been proven to be incredibly wrong. These are the same traffic experts that said I don't need traffic lights for a school on Bridge Street. In my opinion, traffic experts' credibility has gone down the tubes, and I don't believe them. It's just simply that, because we're the people that live here. We know what happens. We know how traffic ties up. We know how bad it gets. One driveway supporting that entire in and output with all the traffic flows that once you get inside. The traffic flows were wonderful. Bus flow, taxi flow, individual vehicle flow, wonderful design. I like the design. It's nice. I want them to upgrade the aesthetics a little bit. But they're not addressing key components here. They need to address these components, and until they do, I have a problem with that. I represent a lot of neighborhood associations that want the pedestrian access issues resolved. I've also been contacted by the Commission on Disabilities co-chair who said, please, we need to have this looked at. We have a lot of disabled folks in this city that need to be looked at, and the environmental review is very important for that to happen, to take place. Without that, I don't understand. And the other part about this, I understand that we're talking about a delay, and nobody wants the delay, because the delay would mean that we have to suffer with what we've got for even longer. However, why are we talking a year? We have about a dozen questions. Ask them, get an answer, and let's move on and get this done and get a proper answer. Why does it have to be a year? Right? I mean, if I asked a question of anybody here, I'd expect an answer within the same day, maybe a week later. Why are we looking at a year down the road? I don't understand that part. Right? So, I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me. You know, Steve McLaughlin, when I talked to him about Mass Highway and their projects for the bypass, he told me once that all these improved lights coming up and down Bridge Street wouldn't impact the traffic. Well, I'm glad he doesn't live here because he would find out otherwise. All right, now we're talking about expanding from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, essentially right across from the courthouse. When we finally do that final phase of the bypass, how's that going to interfere with pedestrian traffic? They're having a hard time crossing 2 lanes. How are they going to possibly cross 4? Especially the handicapped folks that come down. I'm having a real issue with this. Do I want it going forward? Of course I do. There isn't anybody here that doesn't want it to go forward. Get it done right. Let's not hurry into it. I mean, it's been 20 years. Even if it did take an extra year, which I seriously question the timing on that, why don't we just get it done and get it done right and address these issues, make the people that walk to the station happy. I mean, after all, if you even look here, I agree with many of the component pieces of the resolution. This is one of the most active commuter stops in the entire system, not just north of Boston, but in the entire system, according to the MBTA's own records. Why are they treating us like it's not? I mean, I don't understand that. I mean, again, I applaud the mayor for being able to get what she's been doing here, but I mean, we need to do it and do it right. And I got to tell you, the people that I represent tell me, hey, put the brakes on for a bit. Let's get it done and get it done right. They want it just as bad as anybody wants it, but they want it right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Siegel?
Thank you, Madam President. I just have one quick question. Maybe the mayor can address it or somebody on the committee here. And going through the language here, my question is, what does the EIR cover which the expanded ENF does not? Because in here it says the MBTA has filed an expanded ENF which covers many of the same criteria that would be reviewed under an EIR. I just want to make sure we're not missing anything. So that's my question I'd really like to have answered is, what is the expanded EIR cover which hasn't been reviewed?
Thank you. Mayor?
For the most part, the categories are exactly the same in an ENF and an EIR. It's really the depth of the discussion. You're able to drill down much deeper through an environmental impact report, and there's more time for comments, and it's a process-oriented. The reason it takes a year, as alluded to earlier, is really about the timeline and the process. They have to drill down deeper. They need to provide additional information. There's responses. There is a back and forth. We feel like it's a very straightforward project, and if you looked at the expanded ENF, it's online. It's been available. We've had meetings on it, not only here, but also talked about it somewhat briefly at the last public hearing. You can see it's a fairly lengthy document. It's not anything that it was just a cursory review of items. It's very deliberative. Traffic, historical assets, waterfront, dealing with handicap and disability issues. It's pretty lengthy, and so it addresses much. It's just really the depth of it for the most part.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mayor?
I do think it's important to just provide a brief response to some of the comments. I think it's too important of a project to let them go unnoticed. The MBTA has actually worked very closely with the community trying to do what they can for pedestrian access. There's a small committee that's been formed locally, whether or not the T-Garage came or not, to try and improve pedestrian access. Much of the pedestrian improvements that are being looked at and being talked about are frankly off the site of the MBTA. They're not even on their properties. We've talked about the circulation was presented at the last meeting. What can we do off-site? That walk through HMA, where folks we know come from the Federal Street neighborhood, down the Crazy Hill and around the building. How can we make that easier? I think that's all things we're very much interested in doing, and we shouldn't look at it as an either or. You still need a station to get to and a lobby and all those improvements. Traffic experts, this is going to impact traffic. We're going to have more cars coming out of there. You leave a Celtics game at the end of the night, you might have to wait a little bit in the garage before you can get out. If everybody arrives at that train station at the right time and is coming out or is going in, there are definitely going to be some impacts. We looked at putting that additional deck out on Washington Street. There were impacts with the additional deck. Everyone's going to the same direction. You're talking one block up, and it was a cost of $4.1 million. It was unaffordable to the project, and it was still not going to arguably improve the traffic situation. There are definitely going to be impacts. They think they can be addressed and helped by with some directional assistance and some signals. But you're adding people, you're adding cars. There are going to be some impacts along the roadway. Nothing that we think should mar the opportunity to have these improvements. In terms of the disabled population, we're going to have a whole, full, high platform. The trains are going to stop right at the entryway. You're going to have a covered walkway that's going to bring you to an elevator that'll bring you directly down to an enclosed lobby, and you can go right out the door to the train station at the same plane, as opposed to what you have to do now, walk a good 100 yards down to a half-high platform so you can line up to gain access to the train. Everything, if you've seen any new MBTA station, accessibility is key because it's a crucial, means of transit for so many folks with disabilities. Talking elevators, ways to get in and out, you name it, it is much improved. Just even the circulation we have now with where the handicap parking is, where kiss and rides are, how all that happens is very conflicted. Be a lot of improvements for there, a lot of attention has been paid to that. Mostly I want to say this is really not about a year. This waiver will produce another year and cost. You have to hire consultants, you have to file reports, there is a process. It is a bureaucratic process. And when you lose opportunities to go forward in that year, monies get diverted, policy changes happen in governments, the funding goes away potentially. That's what I'm trying to avoid risking. We have momentum. We have a good design team. If you've been to those public meetings, you've seen we've got a really quality architect. We're seeking so much input, especially from people who use the facility on a regular basis. They've done polling. We're trying to fit as much as we can in our $35 million budget of what people want. And I just think it would be a shame to lose that momentum and not have our legislative body support a waiver, given the fact that everybody else has. We want this done right, but we want it done. And many of these items are still going to be addressed. The design isn't completed. The pedestrian access we're not through with those items. We're only at the 30% design stage. So I just want to make sure people know this is not an attempt to do something quick, ramrod something through. The ENF's extensive. They've looked at a lot of these areas. There are going to be some impacts. We think they can be addressed and manageable. But most of all, the benefits of this project far outweigh any of the cons or the even potential cons that can't be addressed.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any members of the committee? Any of the council? There being none, do I have 3 hands for a roll call vote? Madam City Clerk, would you? So a yes is in favor of the resolution and a no is opposed. Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Counsel Carr?
Yes.
Counsel Fury?
Yes.
Counsel O'Keefe?
Yes.
Counsel McCarthy?
Yes.
Counsel Prevey?
Yes.
Counsel Ryan?
Yes.
Counsel Sargent?
Yes.
Counsel Siegel?
Yes.
Counsel Sosnowski?
No.
Counsel Turiel?
Yes.
Counsel Lovely?
Yes. 11 councilors voting, 10 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. The matter carries.
Madam President,
Councilor O'Keefe?
I move for immediate reconsideration and hope it will not prevail.
Thank you, Councilor. All those in favor? Opposed?
Opposed.
The nays have it. Thank you. We are now going to move to page...
Six.
6?
Page 6?
Almost there.
No?
6.
Oh, we're going to move to water and sewer rates. Anybody know what page?
Madam
Page 10. Councilor Prevey?
May I ask that committee reports be taken out of order? We have the PBD Essex Museum folks from here. And I'd ask, because I know they've been patiently waiting there.
Be happy to do that.
Thank you.
So we will just stay in committee reports and Councilor Prevey.
Thank you.
Is that your report? Yes. We're on page 15.
City of Salem, the City Council, July 19, 2012. The Committee on Public Health, Safety, and Environment, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of authorizing the PBD Essex Museum to obstruct a portion of Essex Street for their expansion project, has considered said matter and would recommend approval.
On acceptance of the committee report, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. On adoption of the recommendation, under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. Earlier this week, we had a committee meeting. We had all the principals from PBD Essex Museum that were here. The liaison, former Ward 1 Councilor Claudia Chuber, who is now working for the PB Essex Museum, will be one of their point people in facilitating the communication between the city and the PB Essex Museum. And in particular, she was there at the committee meeting representing that if there's any issues, obviously the city would communicate those with her. The members of the committee were very satisfied with the presentation of the project. We had the building inspector here. We had a letter from the chief of police and Lieutenant Przewski. We had the fire chief, David Cody, here as well. I don't know if we're forgetting anyone else. Oh, the city planner, Lynn Duncan, and Jason Silva from the mayor's office. And everyone was very happy with, obviously, they talked generally what they're going to be doing in terms of their expansion of the museum, which sounds very exciting. Part of that, obviously, for them to do that, they have to close off part of Essex Street to do that, a total of 18 feet. Initially, they had recommended 12 feet, but wanted to expand that to 18 feet, and that's what we approved. And a lot of that had to do with the recommendation and the request of the fire chief, Dave Cody, just to make sure that there was proper access for the fire department should something occur. Many of the concerns that the committee members had raised were addressed quite adequately by the folks with the PB Essex Museum. We were quite satisfied that they're going to do everything they can to limit any type of impact, especially during Halloween, and that seemed to be where most of the major concerns were, given all the activity that happens downtown, especially in that stretch along Essex Street. So they made a solid commitment, and we certainly take them in their sincerity that they will do everything they can to alleviate any problems, minimize any impact, and if any issues come up, obviously they are available to address them very readily. So we were very happy with their presentation and certainly look forward to supporting them in their endeavor to expand the museum and get the construction underway, while at the same time, obviously, making sure that life outside on Essex Street, pedestrian mall, is really not disturbed. The other issue ends up being, and that was a concern I had, there are going to be some trees that are going to be removed because they need to for to be doing the project on the exterior. But as part of that, in exchange, they will be replacing those trees in kind and as close to the size that they are right now. So we'll have the area obviously restored once the construction is done. So with that, I would recommend that the full council vote and approve for partial obstruction.
Thank you, Councilor Prevey. Any further discussion, Councilor Sosnowski?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I just want a quick question. I support this, and I'm also excited about this as well. However, the quick question I would ask would be, is this going to come and go at different times? I mean, will that petition be up all during that period? Or will it come and go?
Councilor Prevey?
My understanding that once it goes up, it's going to stay that way. There's not going to be a removal of it and then a reestablishment. It's just going to stay there until everything is basically completed or until they don't need it anymore as part of their expansion of that particular aspect of the museum. And once that's done, it's not going to be reestablished again. It's a one-time thing. Once it's up, it'll stay there till they no longer need it, and then it'll come down, and then they'll restore that portion of Essex Street back to the way it was before.
Thank you. Any further discussion, questions? Councilor Fury.
Yes, please, Madam President. In light of the last resolution we just passed about the parking garage, I think most cities and towns will give their right arm to be in the city of Salem at this point, in the city of Salem. We have a new garage on the horizon. We have Salem State University with the expansion of a library, Salem Hospital, and now the PB Essex Museum going into the 21st century. I think we're very lucky to have that opportunity to live in Salem in the most tight economic times that we're having. We have visionary leadership at the PB Essex Museum, visionary leadership in the mayor's office, and each of these components are making this city a better city. And I think we're lucky to have that. I have to unfortunately abstain from this vote because I'm a part-time employee of the PB Essex Museum, so I will be abstaining from this actual vote itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Thank you. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I attended the meeting. Part of the project is actually in Ward 1, and I just want to give kudos to Claudia. I've had the fortunate, I told Claudia that Ellen Tarkowski was going to become her new best friend. I ran into Ellen at an event last night. Claudia's already reached out to Ellen. I met the tree warden today. They already had that conversation, so the conversations are already going. So I give Claudia a lot of credit. She took to heart what was said at the meeting the other night, and a lot of the questions and concerns that were raised. And in addressing Councilor Sosnowski's issue with regards to, the only real change after the boundary or the Jersey barriers with the plywood on top is set, is occasionally through the meeting was they're going to have to bring in a larger crane to haul some of the heavy equipment up. And during that time, the outriggers for that crane will actually impede on that 18 feet. But at night, they're going to pull them back. So there'll be occasionally on a maybe up to a half a dozen times left to bring in a bigger crane to do that. But other than that, as the chair said, the fire, everyone was okay. Thought it was a great. The plan, their safety plan was actually excellent. So I think it speaks volumes to they've already started the outreach, and I think that going forward, I think it'll be a great project.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, on adoption of the recommendation, all those in favor? One present.
One present.
The matter carries. Thank you. We will now move to page 10 under communications from the mayor. Order that the following rates with effective dates of water be adopted in accordance with the recommendation of Her Honor, the Mayor. Madam Clerk, do you want to read those or waive the reading?
That the effective date July 1st, 2012 sewer rates be increased by 4%. That the effective date for July 1st, 2013 sewer rate be increased by 4%. That the effective date July 1st, 2014 sewer rate be increased by 4%. That the effective date for July 1st, 2012 water rates be increased by 9%. That the effective date July 1st, 2013 water rates be increased by 4%. That the effective July 1st, 2014 water rates be increased by 4%.
Thank you. Mayor?
Thank you. Again, appreciate the opportunity, and I want to offer an apology. We had initially submitted, we thought we submitted the actual order for the water and sewer rate as part of the budget. That's what we typically do. There was some sort of mishap in us getting it down to the clerk. It didn't arrive at your desks, and that's why we're doing it now. We did adopt the budget for the water and sewer departments, and obviously the assessments that we received from SESD and the Salem Beverly Water Supply Board, consistent with the proposed rates. However, we didn't address it at the time of the budget because our order that we had submitted got misplaced when we would send it downstairs, and it never came to you. So we're trying to take it up now, and I really wanted to be here tonight because I know it's never easy to vote for a water and sewer increase, and believe me, it's not easy for me to propose one either. We are dealing with the circumstance in a city like Salem, given our age and our history, that we just have a lot of infrastructure needs and demands. One of the things that I'm mindful of is obviously the impact this is going to have on homeowners, folks who have to pay these bills, trying to keep it as low as possible. But we also have a responsibility to make sure we're not neglecting the maintenance infrastructure system that we need. Keep in mind what happens below the ground. You don't see it. It doesn't result in a new roadway or a new sidewalk or something that people don't call you up and say, hey, can you come out and replace my sewer line? But when we don't do it, we certainly hear from a lot of folks. And unfortunately, these cost items, because they're below the ground, they're really expensive. We're going to drop $200,000 at the corner of Hawthorne and Essex for the project that's going on there now. It's a sinkhole, it's drained, it's soared, there's a 16-inch water line going through it. We spent about $200,000 last year on a similar break or a break to a water line on Highland Avenue in front of the Collins Middle School. So when you do have issues, they're never inexpensive to fix them below the ground. So our approach has always been to try and make some improvements. So we're doing the maintenance that we need to do, as evidenced by the relining of the pipe at Rantoul Street. We just put in new updates to both water storage tanks, Folly Hill and Gallows Hill. We're also dealing with some new federal laws that were requiring us to make some improvements. As of 2014, we have to have improvements within our water system to accommodate new regulations. Those are federal regulations. They don't come with dollars to offset, but we had to install new mixers in both of our tanks. So there are costs associated with compliance, there are costs associated with preventative maintenance, and then there are the costs that when there are breaks and when there are routine items that we have to address. I do know from speaking with other mayors, it's the #1 issue that we're all fighting. This cost of infrastructure just rising and the dollars to support it not being there as much as we'd like to see happen. I also know from talking to some of my colleagues, if you do neglect these things, it doesn't get cheaper to fix down the road. the new pump station, repairs don't cost less 2 and 3 years from now, they cost more. So deferring and deferring and deferring can have a really negative impact, or even worse, an impact on your community. Gloucester had a boil water order in place for three weeks. That is a killer. Think about a boil water order with our restaurants and our industry and a hospital and the impacts you have. They were feeling it with Gorton's and places up there. So we're trying to, balance the line between obviously not wanting to croak ratepayers, understanding that we do have an aging system and have a responsibility to undertake maintenance, and also account for repairs and the assessments that go with running these systems. So we are proposing the 944, the 444. We like to do it in 3-year trends so that we're not seeing huge spikes, that it gives us an opportunity to plan for what that maintenance is going to look like, the planned maintenance and scheduled. It will result in a $51 increase the first year. You can see the bigger bump up is on water. Water is much cheaper than sewer. The impact of a 9% water increase is the same as the impact of a 4% sewer increase. Sewer is that much more expensive. Even with this increase, we still will be one of the lowest rates on the North Shore for water and sewer. Peabody is the only community that's ahead of us in terms of keeping a lower cost. And that's one of the reasons we're trying to balance this, to make sure that we aren't croaking folks between taxes and water and sewer rates, trying to be mindful of our ability to keep these things affordable while recognizing we do have a responsibility to maintain the systems that we operate in, and unfortunately they're older than we like. I'll share with you one story. We had a breakout on Randall Street. I think it was the same time we had the break on Collins Street, Randall Street in North Salem, and the pipe that they pulled out of there was a 6-inch water pipe. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm looking at our engineer who's here, and Rick Renard was telling me the story as well, and it had an 18 on it. I mean, it was laid in 18. It was like an old cast iron pipe. We still have some of those lying around. Randall's kind of a small side street. So I share that with you to let you know that it's a work in progress, trying to do all the maintenance and also keep up with this aging system. And we're trying to be respectful of ratepayers at the same time. But we did pass the budget this is what the budget that you adopted. These are the rates we need in order to pay for those items. And I'd appreciate your support on realizing how hard it is, and apologize for not making sure these orders got to you earlier. I'm happy to answer any questions, and want to thank Rich and Dave Knowlton, the city engineer, and the finance director, who are also here and can equally speak to issues if you have any questions.
Thank you. Councilor O'Keefe.
Well, Madam President, I want to disagree with the mayor, and I had a long discussion with the city engineer about this morning. And we're going through the phase of a brand new water meter installation, brand new efficient water meter installation. And the last time we changed water meters was 5 years ago. Now, as water meters are used like everything else, they wear down and they're not accurate. And what we're doing is we're putting new meters in. They're going to be very accurate, and they're going to, whatever 15 or 17,000 customers we have. I just cannot see in this age where we need to raise the water. I've never voted for a water or sewer rate since I've been on the city council, and I don't propose to do it tonight. And the mayor knows my position. I've told him already. I do not think, on top of everything else, new water meters, which are going to work for the city, not for me as a consumer. Even though I bought a new washing machine over the weekend that's only going to use 20 gallons instead of 40 gallons, I can't see this. It's another tax, and I think we've had enough taxes. I can't support this increase of the sewer and water rates.
Thank you, Councilor.
Can I correct one item? I
ma'am.
appreciate your comments, Councilor O'Keefe. I
You
don't
know my
like
position, ma'am.
proposing it any more than you like having to vote on it. The water meters that we're replacing are 20 years old, not 5 years old, just so that folks know the average age of a water meter is anywhere from 15 to 20 years old. And one thing to think about when we're looking at installing meters, they will be more accurate. That's one of the reasons that you install new meters, is so they can capture more water. So how water systems work, and you know this, Councilor, and I'm going to tell my anecdotal comment about this afterwards, but we get an assessment from the Beverly Salem Water Supply Board based on how much water we use collectively as a community, and we divide that amongst all the ratepayers who pay water. If we're collecting water more accurately, that means that people are paying for what they're actually using, as opposed to not paying. The water usage that we see is what we distribute throughout the system. So it's really a fairness issue. If you do not have an efficient meter and we're not capturing it, somebody else may be paying for that. I mean, it's not as though you're using more water. We're getting billed for it, whether we're billing a ratepayer or not. We're all paying for it in increased rates, is my point. We get billed based on our cumulative usage. So if some of it's not being captured because you have an old meter, that's being spread amongst everybody. If we have more efficient meters, everyone's paying their fair share. And I do remember a certain councilor running for office advising everyone to put a brick in his toilet. So I know you've been a long-time water conservation advocate, and that was my anecdotal note.
Rejoinder?
Counselor O'Keefe.
Madam Mayor, I was going to bring the brick tonight
I'm
from
sure
my
you
toilet.
were.
But I said, if the mayor
Hopefully you
brings
weren't
it
going
up,
to throw it in my direction.
well, if everybody's listening, if they want to help on the water rates, just put a brick inside the chamber on the top of your toilet, and you're going to save some money. You flush your toilet by pressure, and the head in the tank will be there, but the volume won't be. And the city engineer's going to look at me, and he's going to agree with me that you're building the pressure up, not the flow, and it'll flush. Even with the new toilets, even with the MDC toilets, and he's nodding now. But Mayor, I didn't bring the brick. I wish you were going to say something. I was going to bring the bricks. I got 3 of them. Thank you.
Counselor Turiel.
Thank you, Madam President. I understand, even though I'm not happy about the need for increases in this. I sit on the Administration Finance Committee. I went through the meetings and read the numbers and had this confirmed by the council's budget analysts. The need for this, we've been able to avoid and minimize rate increases in the past through a lot of one-time sources and using retained earnings. We've pretty much used up all those tricks in order that we've been able to hold down increases with in the past. So I understand that that's happened. I also understand the new meters will help us capture our usage more accurately. I hope that the larger commercial users get these meters soon. I know we got the letter in our mail a week ago or so saying we need to schedule it, and I promise we'll call you real soon about that. My only real issue here is looking at this and projecting out 3 years, especially while we're in a transition period where we're changing over metering, we're going to be capturing more information. I can support, however, reluctantly putting in these increases for this current fiscal year, but I would prefer, if we could, to separate this out and vote on this for this current fiscal year. And if we're looking after we've gotten the transition to the new meters done, if we have more accurate information and maybe corrected some of the systemic problems that increase our flow right now, if maybe next year we come forward with a 3-year plan, then I might be able to support then. But this time, I think I'd only be able to support the rates for this current year.
Thank you, Counselor.
That's interesting.
Counselor Sosnowski.
Thank you, Madam President. My concern here is this. I mean, we all know that the infrastructure is aging. We need to pay for it somehow. But later on this evening, we're also going to be asked for a CPA vote, all right, which is an additional taxing as well. All right. Actually, Councilor Cherriel's suggestion of breaking this out into the years is not bad. However, my initial point here of my concern is the assessment. Almost 10 years ago, when I first became a councilor, Salem and Beverly splits the water usage. And I think we were like 51 and they were 49 on our assessments. Over the years, that number has crept up. We are now 60% roughly, give or take 1 or 2, and they're 40. All right? There's something wrong where we're being assessed in a disproportionate amount of water here, and that needs to be addressed. Now, obviously, some of the water that we're using is going to be caught with these new meters. At least that's the hope. That's what was discussed before, that we would be catching many people that are users that are getting away with this. However, I don't know that would account for 10%. How would that drop us from 60 to 50? I hope it would, but I'm not exactly sure. I would rather see that happen. I really don't want to vote for this, especially in light of all the other things that are going to be coming up later on in the agenda. All right, so I mean, but at the same time, if you don't vote for it, how do you fix these things? So I mean, it's a rock and a hard place again. Thank you.
Just a quick clarification, Counselor. We're not voting on the CPA tonight.
We're not.
No.
I thought that was on our agenda.
No, there's a recommendation from the committee, but it won't be an official vote on that. That needs to take place at another meeting.
All right, thank you, Madam President.
You're welcome. Any further discussion? Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to concur with my colleague to the right. I usually like to plan things out in advance, and I like the idea of a 3 years, but I think in this one particular case, if we're going to bite the bullet on 9%, I think that it kind of makes sense to see how that goes. I know there's a big unknown. The new water meter's coming in. There's a big unknown on that. But on top of that, I mean, when you look into what's in front of us tonight, there's an appropriation for $200,000 for the sinkhole that's being created on. So and it's also, when you look back on, you can just go back. I mean, there was appropriations for gas, because the price, when gas spiked, we needed more money for it. It just goes on and on. The whole idea of the retained earnings for the water and sewer is that it's self-sustaining and it pays for itself. Whether that's the water, whether that's the personnel that does it, the repairs, all of that. So, and I want to harken back to the fact that we did have our budget analyst specifically attend this meeting at the council president's request, and we put it on him with regard to that 9% number. And as he sat over in that chair over there, he basically looked at everyone who was at the meeting and said, due to the fact that you have increased your debt, due to the fact that you've, as Councilor Terrio alluded to, that you've paid down over the last couple of years by taking retained earnings to offset some of those increases, basically this is the year that everything's come to the point that you need to offset those in order to move forward, to allow the program, to allow the stabilization fund to sustain itself, so we can keep doing these things that we need to be doing. I mean, we all made these decisions as we went along over the last couple of years with regard to the metering program, with regard to the infrastructure repairs on Rantoul Street and the water towers. And eventually it just come to the point now where I don't like 9% either. And actually, I mean, I've had a conversation with the mayor, and I don't think she wants to tell you the number that was originally proposed, because it's actually been pared down to 9. It started a lot higher than that. So I think that, and I know, and I believe Rich Visquet he's very good at what he does. And I think he analyzes from both sides, and he understands what he needs coming in and what he anticipates going out. And I just think right now we're at a point where there's a lot of unknowns what's going to be coming in. So he's erring on the side of caution with that number, but I have to agree with it from the perspective of what our own budget analyst said. So I reluctantly, as everyone said, no one likes 9%. But at the same time, I would, if someone puts a motion on it, I would support Councilor Turriel's, even though I'd like to plan 3 years in advance myself, but I would, for just this 1 year, then hopefully next year, then we can vote on a 3-year, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council Siegel?
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I just want to go on record to say I don't support this. I didn't support it in the budget meeting. I stood up and was opposed to it. And the reason being, I fully understand what the mayor says, and I understand we have a lot of infrastructure that needs to be fixed. But adding another tax on top of what we're already paying, in front of me I have the tax rates from 2000 to 2012, and the taxes of a $300,000 piece of property and how it's increased. From 2007 to 2012, on a $300,000 piece of property, residential, the taxes increased 31%. That's tremendous. And now we want to tax another 9% here, another 4%. If you do the math on the 3 taxes, the 3 years, it comes out to, I think, $130 per residential house at the end of 3 years. Throw that on top of taxes have gone up for the last 5 years. 2007, the rate was $10.77. 2012, it was $15.63. So I don't expect that to go down. So the residential tax rate is going to go up even higher for the next couple years, and now we're adding $130. So I just want to go on record as I don't support this.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Councilor Terrio?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd only like to address one point here and then hopefully move forward. Something like the water and sewer rates is not something that, at least in my estimation, I would consider to be a tax. It's a fee, it's a cost, it's a cost to ratepayers, but it's based on the metered amount that you use. It's based on your consumption, not just based on the value of your home or some other arbitrary factor. If you don't like the amount of money that you pay for water and sewer, find ways to use less of it. It's something where we all use it, we all rely on it, and again, I'm not happy with having to pay more for it. I understand that we've gotten a lot of mileage out of a very old infrastructure. We've gotten a lot of mileage out of the system we're using, and as this goes, some of the things in Salem that we have are very expensive, but fortunately for us, we have a two-city system that for our water supply, and because of some of the factors, partly because we host the actual sewer plant itself, we are one of the lower cost communities when it comes to water and sewer rates. I hope that trend continues, but I also hope we're able to gradually modernize our infrastructure without it costing us an outrageous amount of money.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Fury.
Madam President, I credit Councilor Lovely, President Lovely, for championing the idea of a budget analyst, Councilor O'Keefe. And I don't think we could have gotten a better situation having Mr. Daly present his figures, matching with Mr. Viscay that night. We really lucked out having him. His figures concurred with Mr. Viscay. And I think by delaying and deferring this just for 1 year is kicking the can down the road, and we're not being honest to the voters of City of Salem. 9% this year, they know they're going to get it. They need water and sewage. And I think we ought to be upfront in a long-range forecast saying 9, 4, 4. It's realistic, sincerely. It's not going to go down. If you're going to depend on meters, it's like depending on a computer. I don't think we can depend on a computer entirely. I don't think we can depend on a meter. It's not going to guarantee. I think we ought to, in the long run, a 9, 4, 4 process is long range. I think people like to see a long range process instead of kicking the can down the road 1 year at a time. They're going to get it one way or the other.
Councilor Siegel.
I'd just like to say, I think, I think a lot of the taxpayers in Salem rather this come out of their regular taxes than an increase in the water and sewer bill. The taxes go up every year. They feel that this should be coming out of their taxes for the infrastructure, not an increase every year. Like I said, it's gone up 31% in 5 years. And I know my phone's been ringing off the hook for people who see this or read it on the agenda saying, what's going on with this. So that's why I'd say, let's do it out of the regular budget. We increase every year. Let's take care of the infrastructure out of that.
Councilor, any further discussion? No. Councilor O'Keefe, would you please?
Councilor Lovely, President of the City Council. Remarks. Councilor Lovely.
Thank you. So actually, we did take this up during the budget debate, and we talked about it pretty extensively then. And actually, there's a couple of sheets I have here from the budget book, one regarding the Water Enterprise Fund, the other regarding the Sewer Enterprise Fund. And, Mr. Viscay and I had a pretty lively discussion about it, and he presented his side, and I've never voted for a 3-year at a time increase. As a councilor in my 15 years. I like to do it yearly. I understand the planning process, why the mayor wants to put it forward like that. That's not the approach that I take. So if a council will make a motion to do this for 1 year, I'd like to be able to support that. I do believe, however, the Water Enterprise Fund at 9% increase this year is pretty high, but I did do the math, and I believe that's on the average water bill for, I'm not sure how many cubic feet of water, but it's $26 increase. Okay, so it's a $26 increase on the water side, about a $25 increase on the sewer side.
51 combined.
51 combined. Thank you. Okay, so given that, I'm not sure why we do. I'm still not really sure why we need a 9% increase on the water side. Especially, this one sentence in the budget book, due to the installation of new water meters throughout the city, we expect to have higher revenues than anticipated in FY 2013. Now, I'll give you a caveat. The water meters aren't all installed yet, and that could be the reason why that we have not realized all those revenues. Especially the commercial meters haven't been completely installed yet because, as was explained to me, they're newer, and we were actually replacing the residential meters first, which are much older. So, I do recognize that this is not a tax. It's a use fee. You pay for what you use, and so certainly, I think there's been a tremendous amount of water conservation measures like bricks in toilets, or low flow toilets, or the shower heads. Any way that we can conserve water and continue to do that, your water bill and in relationship, your sewer bill is going to be less. So. I'd like to, if the motion comes forward to separate these out, because I've never voted for 3 years in a row, I'd like to be able to support it. Thank you. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Mia.
Any further discussion? Councilor Terrell.
Madam President, according to that, I would like to make a motion that we separate this and only vote on the fiscal year 2013 rates effective July 1st, 2012, to increase sewer rates by 4% and water rates by 9%, and only vote on this current fiscal year.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilor Ryan, seconds. Any further discussion? Councilor Fury.
May I ask the mayor to?
Yes, Mayor, would you like to respond?
Would the mayor have any input on this situation?
Yeah, I understand where folks are coming from. We like to do 3 years, so frankly, we only ask for one vote. It allows us to plan out our 3-year cycle of expenditures. If folks want us to come back next year, we can certainly do that. It's critical that we get this for this year because the budget that we're operating 2 weeks into now is focused on this rate. So we can certainly come back. We'll still do our planning, but it'll obviously be subject to approval of whatever rates. And if the water meters, if things are working well and we don't have to increase, certainly. I don't want to give anybody the impression that I'm doing cartwheels about increasing, but we also have a responsibility to the system, and we're just trying to balance both. But yeah, will make a 1-year work for sure.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, we don't need a roll call vote, or do we want a roll call vote? We don't need one. So so the motion before us is to adopt the sewer rate for effective July 1, 2012, that's for FY13, at 4%, and the water rate effective July 1st, 2012, for FY13 at 9%. All those in favor? Opposed?
Opposed. Roll call, Mr. President. Roll call.
Do I see 3 hands for a roll call vote? Okay. Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Carr?
Yes.
Counselor Fury?
Yes.
Counselor O'Keefe?
No.
Counselor McCarthy?
Yes.
Counselor Prevey?
No.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Sargent?
Yes.
Counselor Siegel?
Nope.
Counselor Sosnowski?
No.
Counselor Turiel?
Yes.
Counselor Lovely?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. The matter is 7 in the affirmative, 4 in the negative. The matter carries. Councilor McCarthy.
Madam President, I move that we remove back to the regular portion of the meeting.
Whatever that is.
Page 6.
Right. Back to the beginning. We are now moving back to page 6, communications from the mayor.
We have an appropriation of $67,330.38 from the Retirement Stabilization Fund's Vacation Sick Leave Buyback account to be expended for the retirement buyback of the following: Andre Willett and Deborah Linsky.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption.
Move the suspension of the rules.
Move for suspension. I move for suspension of the rules.
There being no objection, Councilor McCarthy.
I further move for adoption.
Under discussion?
On discussion, as anyone who's looked through the agenda for tonight, there's about a half a dozen or so financial matters. I've asked Mr. Viscay, the finance director, to be here tonight to answer any of the questions. On this particular matter for the appropriation, these 2 retirements are contractual, and so it has been, we just approved the transfer of the money. It's been vetted through the process, through both Human Resources and the Finance Department. These numbers are the accurate numbers that we're contractually obligated to pay, so at this time, I would move for adoption.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an appropriation of $497,835.60 from the Retirement Stabilization Fund Vacation Sick Leave Buyback account to be expended for the retirement buyback of a list of school department employees.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
There being no objection, Councilor McCarthy.
I further move for adoption.
Under discussion?
Under discussion, everyone this evening has a list of the retirees from the school department. I want to thank them for all their long years of service to the city, and they've at this point decided to retire. but just for everyone's clarification, in case somebody at home missed the number of the retirees, it's $497,835.60 that will be contractually expending for their retirements.
That's buyback for sick time. Unused sick days?
Unused sick days.
Yep, thank you.
So I know that it's, as seen in the letter that we got from the mayor, it's one of her big objectives during all the rounds of contractual collective bargaining, to really look at the number of sick days and some way to pare that down. It's no disrespect to anybody on this list, it's just the way that contractually they move forward, but with moving forward, when you look at numbers that we're all throwing around and looking at ways to pare down the budget, and I applaud anyone who wants to join us and try to figure that out, but when you look at, start looking at numbers like this when it comes in, and I want to credit Mr. Viscay and the Finance Department for setting up a stabilization fund and actually setting aside money in the budget to cover these costs, so we're not, these costs aren't budget busters, so to speak. So I would move for approval.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor? Opposed? So voted. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an appropriation for $200,000 from the retained earnings sewer fund account to the engineering sewer system improvement program account.
Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
There being no objection, Council McCarthy.
I further move for adoption.
Under discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. With us this evening also, in case anyone has any questions, we have Mr. Dave Knowlton from the city engineer. If anyone's had questions on this one, this directly relates to the conversation we just had about the water and sewer rates. This $200,000 expenditure, anyone has seen the steel plates out in front of the Hawthorne Hotel. Basically, there's a sinkhole underneath the street that's probably about the size of all these desks put together, maybe bigger. And it's due to the fact that the infrastructure there with regard to the sewer and a whole bunch of other things has just made it so that street needs to be taken up. All the other utilities that are involved going through there have to kind of shore up their things, and then we need to get in and do what we need to do. And obviously, anytime you interrupt a major flow in an intersection like that at a critical juncture of traffic in the city and with regard to critical juncture with the infrastructure, it's going to be costly. So the money needed to, in the anticipated expenditures for that project is the $200,000, which we need to transfer out of that. I know that the project of this size, we are not going to, we try to do a lot of the smaller ones for residentials in-house, but I know that we've contracted out with Grenice & Sons, local contractor, to handle that work, which will be supervised by Dave Knowlton and his assistant, to make sure it's done right. But that's a direct result of the infrastructure that's a problem, and I know that Mr. Knowlton has worked closely with the Hawthorne Hotel to guarantee that they have adequate water supply so they can continue to, during this process, so they can continue to service and serve their guests at their facility. So I want to commend Mr. Knowlton for taking the initiative of going through the process to make sure everyone's going to be, everyone's needs are going to be tried to address during this process. But obviously, it's one of those things that this is something we need to do, and I would move for approval.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an appropriation of $165,321.95 from the fund balance free cash account to the following special revenue funds: stabilization fund, CIP fund, retirement stabilization fund.
Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
There being no objection.
I further move for adoption.
Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. As I stated earlier, Mr. Viscay is with us. Basically, when we look at it as a year-end, at the year-end budget cycle, we look at the amount of money that's left over from free cash, and it has been the practice of this administration and this body to look at the free cash and to divide that up between the three funds listed: the stabilization fund, the CIP, and the retirement stabilization fund. As we just saw in the previous expenditures with regard to retirement stabilization, I mean, obviously, that budget just took a huge hit with the amount of retirees. So this has been a practice that the administration has been putting forward for as long as I've been on the council, and I would support these appropriations. And if anyone has any questions, I would be more than willing to waive the rules to allow Mr. Viscay to address.
Any Questions, further discussion? There being none, on adoption of the recommendation, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. It's from the mayor, Council McCarthy.
We have an appropriation of $71,616.05 from the fund balance free cash account to police full-time salaries account.
Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
There being no objection, Council McCarthy.
I further move for adoption.
Under discussion?
This expenditure from free cash to police full-time salaries is a result of last year the police union through its collective bargaining agreed on a three-year contract in which they received a bump, of which, because of that, the way it came in the fiscal year, the full-time salaries account was at the police department was able to take up a lot of what was incurred in that increase, but through attrition and through some other cost-saving manners that Mr. Visquet spoke to me earlier about, but I'm sure he'd be very more articulate on this one than I am because he understands it more than I do. But basically, after they expended everything in the police budget line item for personnel, there was a deficit needed to cover those costs, of which the recommendation is to transfer the $71,000 to cover those costs. And once again, they're contractual, so this is the most efficient way to pay it. And if anyone has any questions of Mr. Visquet, he's in the room.
Thank you.
But I would move for adoption.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an appropriation of $7,400 from the capital outlay renovations and repairs account to be expended for the repair of broken drains at Museum Place Garage.
Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
There being no objection, Council McCarthy.
I also move for adoption.
Under discussion?
Under discussion, Mr. Hacker has requested this money in order to repair some of the ongoing problems with Museum Place Garage drainage. Currently, there's a new restaurant that's looking to build out in the mall, and we have an issue with one of our drain lines that's actually built into the concrete wall. It's leaking, and it needs to be jackhammered out of there. It needs to be replaced because now's the correct time to do it, and time is, on this one, time is of the essence because it's right in the middle of an outfit of the restaurant that's gonna go in there, where there's no equipment in there, where they're just starting. It makes more sense to do it now. Somehow the pipe in the concrete is either one of the joints has come apart or whatever's happened, that it's leaking water every time it rains. So the feeling is, I mean, obviously this is our last meeting until September, then this is the proper time to get it done. And it's just been an ongoing issue that it's not going to go away. We need to address it, and now's the best time to address it now that that space is basically vacant and being renovated. So in conversations with Mr. Visquet, now's the time to appropriate the money to do it and get it done so we can try to address that issue. So I would recommend approval.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further communications from the mayor.
We have a transfer of a total of $197,593.45 from several accounts to fund shortfalls in line items throughout the budget.
Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules. No suspension needed. I move for adoption.
Under discussion.
Under discussion. In conversations with Mr. Visquet this week, I mean, in anticipation of all the questions, I had conversations with Mr. Visquet, and obviously if I miss anything, Mr. Visquet is available. But this $197,000 is basically, there's a list in our packet with regard to the transfers. Basically, it's transferring the line item from one to cover another to basically zero out and balance the books for the last year's budget. So everyone has the list. If there's any questions about it, Mr. Visquet is here to be answered. But my recommendation is, because mostly it's housekeeping to balance, to zero out the line items, I would recommend approval.
Any discussion? There being none? Any discussion? There being none. All those in favor? Opposed? So voted. Further communications from the mayor.
We have a transfer of $102,210 from Human Resource Group Insurance Health Reimbursement Account to Health Insurance Trust Fund.
Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption.
Under discussion.
Under discussion. As we move forward through the whole process this year with regard to human resources, specifically with regard to healthcare and moving over to the GIC, part of those negotiations, there was discussions that any money left from the reimbursement account would be transferred into the trust fund, and that trust fund is to cover incurred costs by people who moved over to the GIC and would have copay or something to that effect outside of wellness payment, that there's a fund set up that they're able to tap into. If they ended up in the hospital long term, they could tap into this fund to pay down some of the co-payments. So part of the discussions with regard to that were that that transfer would be moved over from the group insurance over to the trust fund. So in discussions with Mr. Viscay and the mayor, the recommendation would move to adopt it. And that's just, once again, a year end with regard to the budget.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order to accept donations totaling in the amount of $14,000 from the following to the Police Department Summer Camp Program, Summer Camp Fund. Mass Eastern District Attorney, $7,000. Rotary of Marblehead Harbor, $1,000. Essex Lodge AF and AM, $1,000. Town of Danvers, Danvers Bank, $2,500. Saugus Police Waste Management, $2,500.
Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I will speak louder now that everyone's decided to put the air conditioners back on. Thank you so much. I want to go on record as thanking these 5 institutions for stepping up and donating to the summer camp. Obviously, over the course of the last few months, there's been lots of individuals and institutions that have stepped up to donate to this wonderful program, and I just want to go on record as thanking, as the city clerk already read them, I don't need to read them again, but thank them for their contributions to this program.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order to accept a donation in the amount of $2,500 from Stanley Schwartz and Jacqueline Washburn for stone dust on walking path at Splain Park.
Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I would like to move for adoption, and at the same time, thank Mr. Schwartz and Ms. Washburn for the generous donation for a stone dust walking path at Splain Park. The renovation of Splain Park is an ongoing endeavor, and they felt the need to donate this to enhance the park. At this time, if the Ward 3 councilor, who happens to represent the park, would like to weigh in on their donation, but I would just like to thank them for it.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Madam President.
Councilor
I,
Segal.
too, would like to thank, I believe it was Mr. Schwartz and Jacqueline Washburn for their donation. Mr. Schwartz, I know, has called me, and we're looking to do some more work down there. Hopefully, we do get the grant for Splain Park. There's a lot of work that's gone into it. Again, I'd just like to thank them for all their efforts and their donations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Mayor's informational page, none. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Prevey.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem, the City Council, July 19, 2012, ordered Orange Street at Norris Street, remove the no turn on red sign and replace with turning traffic must yield to pedestrians R10 through 15 sign for a trial period of up to 60 days.
Under discussion?
Yes, Madam President. This is a request submitted from the Traffic Division of the Police Department through Lieutenant Brzezinski. He had contacted me about this, and a lot of it had to do with just over time, the police analyzing that particular intersection there at Moody Square and realizing how the traffic that comes up on Orange Street and also joins Appleton Street, the traffic that's moving into north, that the flow would really improve it if people were allowed to take a turn. Because as it stands right now, that it's no turn on red, and with the exception of pedestrians who often cross back and forth in that crosswalk, that sign would certainly address that with respect to the pedestrians, but it allow the traffic to flow through there as opposed to backing up. Depending on what street that you're on, whether it's Appleton or Orne, when the traffic goes through, a lot of that traffic still is backed up. They have to wait for multiple light cycles, when easily that turn, if it could be made legally, would alleviate that problem. So I certainly support this traffic change temporarily, at least under the way Lieutenant Brzezinski has proposed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Carr.
Thank you, Madam President. Just wanted to rise and echo Councilor previous comments. As a resident of that neighborhood and frequent user of North Street, of that intersection, I think that this is it's definitely good to start on a trial basis. My expectation is that it'll work and help ease some of the congestion of that intersection. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on adoption of the order? All those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Siegel.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem, in the year 2012, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap zones, limited times. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, repeal Hawthorne Street in front of number 80-82 for a distance of 20 feet, handicap parking tow zone. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by City Charter.
Under discussion?
Move for adoption. No, Your Honor.
For adoption for first passage?
Yes, first passage, please.
Any discussion?
It's self-explanatory. The person who lived there has moved.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem, in the year 2012, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap zones, limited time, be it ordained in the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Beach Avenue in front of number 23 for a distance of 20 feet, handicap parking tow zone. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by City Charter.
Under discussion?
Briefly, Madam President, the individual who lives in this building is actually is having surgery, and he's going to be in need, and actually currently already has a handicap placard, and this will just be another thing on top of that, so that they really feel the need to make sure that there's a spot out in front, because he's going to have limited mobility. And it went through the process, and Lieutenant Brzezinski reached out to them, so it has his approval, so I would recommend adoption.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor O'Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Madam President. Election warrant, state primary, July 19, 2012. Ordered that the meetings of the qualified voters of the City of Salem be held in the voting precincts in the city at the polling places designated hereinafter on Thursday, September 6, 2012, for the purpose of casting votes in the state election for the candidates of political parties for the following offices: Senator in Congress for this Commonwealth, Representative in Congress, 6th Congressional District, Councilor, 5th District, Senator in General Court, 2nd District, Representative in General Court, 7th Essex, Register of Deeds, Essex County, Clerk of Courts, Essex County. Further ordered that the following places be and here designated as polling places for the said voting. Ward 1, Precinct 1 and 2, Bentley School, Memorial Drive. Ward 2, Precincts 1 and 2, St. John's Church, St. Peter Street. Ward 3, Precinct 1 and 2, Salem High Auditorium, 77 Wilson Street. Ward 4, Precincts 1 and 2, Witchcraft Heights School Gymnasium, 1 Federal Street. Ward 5, Precinct 1, Temple Shalom, 287 Lafayette Street. Precinct 2, Community Room, Pioneer Terrace. Ward 6, Precinct 1, Bates School, Liberty Hill Avenue. Precinct 2, Mack Park, Tremont Street. Ward 7, Precincts 1 and 2, Salem State Enterprise Center, 12 Loring Avenue, 121 Loring Avenue. Be further ordered that the polls for said voting be opened at 7 a.m. and closed at 8 p.m., and that the city clerk be instructed to post this notice as required by law. No remarks, ma'am.
No remarks. Thank you, Councilor. There being no further discussion, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Any further motions, orders, and resolutions? Councilor Sosnowski.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem City Council, July 19, 2012, ordered that the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs co-posted with the Committee of the Whole meet to discuss amending the traffic ordinances relative to the comprehensive downtown parking plan and discuss the various issues surrounding this new plan.
Under discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. Basically, this was already in committee. However, an action we took actually removed it so we couldn't discuss it, so I'm just essentially reintroducing it again. It's a technicality. That's why it wasn't there, and we have other meetings that need to be scheduled on that matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. There being no discussion on the matter referred to committee. All those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Counselor Prevey.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem and the City Council, July 19, 2012, ordered that the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, examine the possibility of requiring that any additional parking revenue generated by the new parking plan in excess of that collected in fiscal year 2012 will be applied specifically against the tax levy in 2013 and in all subsequent years thereafter. And that there be invited the City Council budget analyst, the finance director, parking director, mayor, or representative.
Any discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. We went through extensive meetings last year about the new parking plan, talked about the revenue that was being generated, and essentially what was presented to the entire council before the vote ended up occurring was that it was going to be a revenue neutral program going forward. That somehow some costs were going to offset others, and as a result, we're going to wind up with the same amount of money. I'm somewhat dubious of that presentation, just based upon things looking at in terms of the fees going up, in terms of the meters now going across the city in areas where they didn't occur, in terms of the costs of the meters to park. So across the board, it just doesn't seem on the surface, based upon all those new additions and the expansion of the parking plan, that it's going to wind up being revenue neutral. And I want to make sure that if in fact it does not become revenue neutral and it becomes a situation whereby the city all of a sudden gets a boost in its revenue from parking, that the citizens of Salem benefit by getting some offset in their taxes as a result of that. So I would want the Committee on Administration and Finance, obviously co-posted, to examine that. We can have the budget analyst and the finance director to really kind of look at that going forward. And a lot of this really we won't be able to tell exactly whether this will happen or not until the full plan is implemented and we start looking at the revenue coming in and making comparisons to the previous years under the old parking plan that we had. So I just want to make sure that's the case, as opposed to us just looking at this as like, oh, all of a sudden we've stumbled upon all this new revenue that's come in, and just like anything else, government has a tendency when it gets its hands on more money to spend more money. So I want to make sure that if this is what's going to occur in the parking plan, that the residents of Salem end up being the benefactors of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. This is just introduced this evening, so there's no further discussion. The matter be referred to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? Opposed? So voted. Any further motions, orders, and resolutions? There being none. Committee reports. Councilor Sosnowski.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem and City Council, July 19th, 2012. The Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, to whom was referred the matter of granting certain licenses, has considered said matter and would recommend approval on public eyes and tag date.
On acceptance of the committee report, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. On adoption of the recommendation, under discussion.
No discussion, Madam President.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further committee reports, Councilor Sosnowski.
Thank you, Madam President. The City of Salem and City Council, July 19th, 2012. The Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, to whom was referred the matter of a hearing request by Thomas Valor on the denial of his public guide license, has considered said matter and would recommend that his license be approved.
On acceptance of the committee report, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. On adoption of the recommendation, under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. Basically, we met to discuss this, gentleman. The conditions under which the query checks were originally denied have changed, and we had a recommendation from Detective Baglioni to thereby approve it, so we never had to go into executive session, and we just took the quick action.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further committee reports, Councilor Sosnowski.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem and City Council, July 19th, 2012. The Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of regarding repealing a zoning ordinance relative to Article 7, Section 7-15, a planned unit development in a business park district, has considered said matter and would recommend that the council move to schedule a joint public hearing with the planning board to repeal this ordinance.
On acceptance of the committee report, all those in favor, opposed, so voted on adoption of the recommendation. Under discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. Actually, we had quite a lengthy discussion on this. As I'm going to temporarily relinquish the floor to Councilor Segal, who introduced this order, so that he can explain what was going on here. Are you tired, Councilor?
I wasn't ready, but
Okay, if you're not ready, then basically what it boils down to is, at the meeting, we had before us 3 copies of the ordinance relative to PPDs and the BUDs. I think I said that backwards. All right, however, we had the original ordinance, what was said after we were done meeting, and then what was finally printed. And all 3 are different. And you yourself made the big question. How did what we agree upon not get written into the ordinance? And all these things are causing interpretations that are causing angst among the entire population of the city. So toward that end, we need to move toward correcting this mistake, whether it be purposeful or not, and we figure out what was going on. And then we need to figure out why certain things are happening. And given the late hour, we don't need to get into the details of that at this point, because all we're trying to do right now is schedule a joint public hearing to get this matter rolling through the process, and at that time we can have all kinds of public comment at that point.
Thank you. Councilor Carr.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a point of clarification, as I look at the recommendation, having attended the meeting, my understanding was the recommendation was, as Councilor Sanowski just indicated, to meet, just schedule a joint public hearing with the planning board to discuss the ordinance and the language. Here, I'm looking at to the purpose of to repeal the ordinance. Maybe semantics, but that was my understanding of the recommendation that came out of committee. That's certainly my expectation of what the meeting is for.
Councilor Sosnowski?
Thank you. Actually, that's correct. All right, Councilor Carr's correct. It was supposed to be a repeal. However, it was worded as a discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Carr. Let the record reflect that we changed the word repeal to discuss. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further committee reports. Councilor Prevey.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem, the City Council, July 19, 2012. The Committee on Public Health, Safety, and the Environment, to whom was referred the matter of removing the no left turn sign on Franklin Street at North Street, has considered said matter and would recommend that the matter remain in committee.
On acceptance of the committee report, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. On adoption of the recommendation, under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. We had a discussion in the committee, and this was based upon a petition which the owner of HMA Car Wash, Bob Andrews, had submitted to the council a number of weeks ago. Relative to that, he wanted the no left-hand turn sign coming out of Franklin Street to be removed. It was put there by the state when the North Street redevelopment project was undertaken by Mass Highway. They did that project, and as part of a safety measure, they installed that no left-hand turn sign so that traffic does not take that left out of Franklin Street and essentially kind of make its way out into 4 lanes of traffic cutting across it. They saw it as being a dangerous situation. Mr. Andrews, who is there, he obviously has analyzed the situation. He believes that's had a negative impact on his business. He's gotten some folks in the community to sign a petition and some people to come forward on his behalf to advocate for the removal of it, basically saying that it functioned well before without that, and as long as there was some traffic improvements in the area, that it would be okay to remove it and not end up being a safety issue. I had contacted the neighborhood, the folks that live down on Franklin Street, Moulton, some of the other streets out there, and I got a number of phone calls and emails from residents urging me not to remove that, essentially. So we kept it in committee because we've asked the police for more information regarding accidents that have occurred at that intersection, because we didn't have a clear understanding as to how many accidents occurred a number of years before the sign was installed and since that time. So Lieutenant Przewski said he was going to do some research on that, come back to the committee, make a presentation before we end up making a final decision, because it's really one of those things where I think it's dangerous. I wouldn't make that turn. Other people do. They don't have an issue with it. But I think we really have to look at it before we take any action, because just like anything else, when you make a traffic change like that and it's there for a number of years, people get accustomed to it and they rely upon it too. And then when you all of a sudden change it and remove it, then people's traffic patterns change, the decisions that they make in terms of traffic all of a sudden get altered. and it really throws people off. And when you're looking at the issue of public safety, I think that's one of the things that we're trying to stay focused on with regards to that, while at the same time understanding that Mr. Andrews has somewhat of a legitimate complaint in terms of the way he's presented it to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor? Opposed? So voted. Further committee reports. Councilor Preby.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem and the City Council, July 19, 2012. The Committee on Public Health, Safety, and the Environment, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter regarding security cameras at playgrounds, has considered said matter and would recommend that the matter remain in committee and a subcommittee be formed to include Councilor Turiel, Councilor Siegel, Sergeant Dennis King, and Doug Bolin, Director of Park and Recreation, to look into the different types of cameras and costs of cameras, and that the subcommittee report back to the Public Health, Safety, and the Environment Committee.
On acceptance of the committee report, all those in favor, opposed, so voted, and on adoption of the recommendation. Under discussion?
Madam President, we had the committee meeting. It was a very good discussion. We had the folks that were referenced here in terms of Sergeant King from the Police Department, Doug Bolin, and we got some good feedback in terms of whether we have a need in the parks for cameras to prevent crime from happening, to catch crime. But a lot of it was geared towards using it as a deterrent. And obviously the police are in favor of this because they have seen it, such as the park on High Street, where they utilized the camera there. It really kind of cut down on a lot of the problems that they were having at that park. So we're on the subcommittee that is formed, and I appreciate Councilor Turiel and Councilor Siegel for stepping forward and being on that subcommittee. They're going to work with Doug Bolin and Sergeant King on looking at the types of cameras, in terms, because they have all different types of cameras, obviously just not in terms of expense, but also in capabilities, and trying to find out what can we afford, but also what is it we need for the parks, what are our needs in terms of making taking some steps that are preventative in terms of crime, and then the report back to the committee.
Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further committee reports. Councilor Preby.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem and the City Council, July 19, 2012. The Committee on Public Health, Safety, and the Environment, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter regarding double pole issue, has considered said matter and would recommend that the matter remain in committee, and that the solicitor draft an ordinance prohibiting double poles and report back to the Public Health, Safety, and Environment Committee.
On acceptance of the committee report, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. On adoption of the recommendation. Under discussion?
Madam President, we had a good committee meeting, and we were very appreciative of the fact that from National Grid we had David Gendel, who has appeared in front of the council and the committee before, from National Grid regarding this issue. He has done some follow-up work and emailed the entire committee, and I regret that I have not forwarded the email on to everyone else on the council, which I will, because he had attached a list of all the double poles throughout the city, and in terms of what their status is, who owns the poles. So it's a good piece of information for us as councilors to track that progress. And it's kind of a complicated process where it involves all the different utilities doing their own job in terms of switching the wires over, and it's a long process. And so we're trying to get obviously the city engineer ends up being our main point person who tries to move all these utilities along and these companies by doing it. So Mr. Gendel certainly committed to, from National Grid standpoint, in trying to push on their end to make sure that they do their part. The problem is we invited someone from Verizon. I know there was some issue or mix-up with them. No one ended up showing up. We're hopeful that a future committee meeting that they will, because I know they have a lot of poles out there too. With regards to the city solicitor, the committee voted asking the city solicitor to draw up an ordinance. Some other communities have that, to kind of prohibit this double pole situation. So obviously we can't really do anything about the ones right now. They're already in transition. That's why the double poles are there to begin with. But kind of going forward, trying to craft some ordinance that's going to be effective and that we can enforce. So when utility companies start trying to go through the double pole problem, they utilize a different method, so we don't end up with two poles side by side that just sit there for months to years in many instances. So, so we'll continue to work on this, but again, I will forward that email on to everyone else because Mr. Gendel, I think, was very specific and detailed in the information he provided.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further committee reports, Councilor Creevy.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem and the City Council, July 19, 2012, the Committee on Public Health, Safety, and Environment, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter regarding street opening issues, has considered said matter and would recommend that the matter remain in committee and that the petition process of opening streets be reviewed.
On acceptance of the committee report, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. On adoption of the recommendation, under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. We had Dave Knowlton, the city engineer, in front of the committee, and really were able to talk about some of the problems that go on where you have the utility companies that have to do work on the streets. But what they do is they have contractors that come in, they get their permits from the city engineer's office. But what they do is they obviously, the process, they petition through the city clerk, the city council, and then we grant them their request. They go to the city engineer, then he issues them their work order and their permit, and they go ahead and do the work. And the problem is, in cases where they did such a lousy job, essentially, and the street was not returned to the way it was before, we've had the city engineer who's running around trying to chase some of these contractors. So one of the things that we thought about doing is looking at switching the process where, as opposed to then going to the city clerk initially to petition the city council, that they would start with the city engineer and get a recommendation from the city engineer before it even gets to the council. That way, because we don't know who the rogue contractors are, and the city engineer does. So I think, based on the testimony that the city engineer gave, he probably feels as if, though, that if we approve it, he's got to get the work done. But if he's looking at something and making a recommendation to the city council as to whether we should approve it or not, I think that'd be more helpful in the process. We could probably get a better control on the situation and also give more teeth to the city engineer in keeping a tighter rein on some of these contractors that don't do a very good job.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Councilor O'Keefe, would you assume the chair?
I recognize President of City Council Joan B. Lovely. Councilor Lodge.
President, City of Salem, City Council, July 19, 2012. The Committee of the Whole, to whom is referred the matter of placing the Community Preservation Act on the November ballot, has considered said matter, would recommend that the matter remain in committee and that the solicitor draft language for the ballot.
All in favor of the recommendation, accepting the report, opposed, so voted. Madam?
Thank you, Mr. President. We had a meeting last week on this about putting the Community Preservation Act on the November ballot. The City Council has the ability to be able to do that without having to go through an initiative petition by residents' signatures. We did have a good meeting on it, and we did ask, one councilor did ask that the solicitor draft the draft language to see what the ballot would look like. Would there be a 1% surcharge, or 2%, 3%? What types of, I'm sorry, what types of, the hour's getting late. I'm fading a little bit. Exemptions, etc. So we're waiting for that language to come back from the solicitor. She did email me this week, and she was in touch with, I think his name is Stuart Sevenor. He's the CPA expert about, and his offer to come in and speak to the council and share the updated legislation and what's been budgeted through the state budget for this and how that impacts reimbursements coming back to cities and towns. So probably we'll schedule that. He's actually available next week or the week after, and then is not available for a couple of weeks in August. Just for the folks at home, you know, this is not the city council. If the council votes to put this on the ballot, it's not because the council is voting for this surcharge. It's the council is voting to allow the residents to decide. So I just, you know, I've received a couple of phone calls from people that are concerned and saying, well, you're voting to raise our taxes. I'm not voting to raise anyone's taxes. I would have a vote in this like anyone else would, like all 11 of us would. It would just allow this to go on the ballot. And I haven't decided which way I'm going yet anyway, but it would allow this to go on the ballot, to let the residents decide. And so I just wanted that to be clear. Thank you, Mr. President.
You, ma'am.
Council Fury.
Yes, please. I wish to thank the Council President for her report. And this may be just the right opportunity for the City of Salem to put that question on the ballot. You have the opportunity to the residents to vote on it. You have the presidential election, congressional election, state election, which Council Lovely's name will be on the ballot as future senator, and other ballot questions will be on it. So really, it would be an opportunity for the voters to actually study the situation and have vote up or down. With this expert coming in, he really is a bright, shining star. He can answer many of your questions in that meeting that we have to set to schedule to answer any of the questions. He really is a guru. He really is a bright, shining star. So I hope the City Council gives it a consideration, professional consideration, to allow it to be on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Fury.
Mr. President.
Councilor O'Keefe.
Madam President, I disagree with Councilor Fury on this. It's another tax. I think, why go through this again? Let's stop it at this point and don't send the recommendation to her or the city solicitor. And that's it. Let's not go any further on this matter. And another tax on the people of the city of Salem.
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to stand up and throw my 2 cents in here. I wasn't at that meeting. I hurt my ankle playing basketball, so I couldn't get here. I'm definitely not in favor of the CPA. We already voted. The residents had a chance to vote on it, and they voted down back in 2007. So they had the chance, and I just feel like Councilor O'Keefe, it's another tax. It is another tax. There's no ifs and ors or buts about it. I mean, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. There's so many things wrong with it. But the ultimate thing is it's a tax. It's a surcharge. The match, the things 10, 12 years ago when this thing started, when it was 100% match, and now it's down to like 22%, and it's just, whatever. It's not 100%. It's not what it was before, and there's so many things you can't. After 5 years, if we get this and we want to get out after 5 years, if we had bonded for projects, and after the 5 years, if the citizens voted for this, and then 5 years later voted they didn't want it anymore and took it off, they can't. The surcharge can't stop until that bond is paid off, which could be another 20 years. So that surcharge will keep going, even though the citizens voted to take it away. So don't even go down the road. I mean, we already voted on it, and I think it's just, that should be done. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Ryan. Any further discussion?
Roll call vote, Madam President?
It's committee or committee.
It's staying in committee, yeah. Any further discussion? No further discussion. There being none, all those in favor, opposed, so voted. Committee reports. There being none, communications from city officials, none. Petitions.
We have a petition from National Grid to install a conduit on Chestnut Street.
Hearing ordered September 13, 2012. Further petitions.
We request from the residents of Chandler Road to hold a block party on August 11, 2012, from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. with a rain date of August 12th.
Councilor O'Keefe.
Madam President, move that the petition be granted.
No discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? So voted. Further petitions.
We request from the residents of Fowler and North Pine Street to hold a block party on August 18, 2012, from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. with a rain date of September 8, 2012.
Councilor Sosnowski.
Move for approval.
Under discussion?
No discussion.
Being none, all those in favor? Opposed? So voted. Further petitions.
We have a request from the residents of Forester Street to hold a block party on September 8, 2012, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. with a rain date of September 9.
Councilor Sosnowski.
Move for approval. No discussion.
No discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? So voted. Further petitions.
We have a long list of license applications.
Councilor Sosnowski.
I move that all these be granted, but however, I want you to take note of the fact that a lot of these people that are coming into the city to be public guides are coming from multiple states removed from us, and I hope they have been sent the guidelines that say that there's a test to have them know the knowledge of the area. I hope they're aware of that.
Thank you, Councilor. Absolutely. No discussion.
No
All those
discussion.
in favor? Opposed? So voted. Further petitions.
We have one public guide license.
Councilor Sosnowski.
I move that this particular license be denied.
No discussion.
No discussion.
All those in favor? Opposed? So voted. Further petitions.
We have two drain layer contract operator license applications.
Councilor Sosnowski.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that these be granted.
Thank you. No discussion?
No discussion.
All those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further petitions.
We have 3 claims.
Councilor Sosnowski.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that these matters be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Thank you. No discussion?
No discussion.
All those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further petitions.
We have 1 drain layer and 1 sign bond.
Councilor Sosnowski.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that these matters be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs and returned approved.
Thank you. All those in favor, opposed, so voted. Unfinished business.
We have second passage of a bond order for refunding of outstanding bonds related to prior school construction.
Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption for second and final passage by roll call vote.
Under discussion?
No discussion.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Carr?
Yes.
Counselor Fury?
Yes.
Counselor O'Keefe?
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy?
Yes.
Counselor Creevy?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Sargent?
Yes.
Counselor Siegel?
Yes.
Counselor Sosnowski?
Yes.
Counselor Terrio?
Yes.
Counselor Lovely?
Yes. 11 councilors voting, 11 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance amending public guide licenses, Chapter 40, Section 27 through 31.
Councilor Sosnowski.
I move it be adopted for second and final passage.
No discussion?
No discussion.
Thank you. All those in favor, opposed, so voted. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance amending fees for Chapter 14, Section 38 related to public guides.
Councilor Sosnowski.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption for second and final passage. No discussion.
Thank you. All those in favor, opposed, so voted. Councilor Creevy.
Thank you, Madam President. Point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Every counselor this evening got a copy of this flyer. It's for Project K9, and I know that the Salem Patrol was good enough to do a brief article in their edition the other day. And what essentially the Project K9 is to raise funds for our police department so they can start a K9 unit. Essentially what it's going to consist of is it's $30,000 is the goal of the fundraising, and the objective is obviously to have purchase 2 dogs, and then the costs that would be associated with the equipment as well as their training. Training is scheduled to take place in October, so we're really trying to broaden this community effort to raise funds. We've got a golf tournament coming up that's scheduled on August the 27th at Old Salem Green. There's going to be a dinner that is scheduled as well. I know there's talk about auctions, tag days, Halloween photos, all kinds of different things that we're doing to raise funds. And I really want to thank my own neighborhood organization. They were approached by the police and asked if they'd be willing to take this on, and I humbly accepted the request to be the treasurer of this. I know the Moose is involved, Camp Lions is involved, and we're really trying to get as much support for this as we possibly can. So I think it's going to be a wonderful thing because the mayor, through the budget process, put on additional police officers but couldn't fund this particular thing. And so we're obviously turning to the community, and everyone, knows how wonderful a K9 unit is to a police department. And I know it would certainly enhance our police department's abilities and certainly increase public safety as a result. And I just want to recognize Rosemary O'Connor, who is president of Mack Park Neighborhood Association, who's here tonight, and she's been very much involved, and she's one of the main point people on it. So I want to thank her for all the work that she's done and all the volunteers who have stepped forward to really work on this. I know Councilor Siegel has attended some of the meetings as well, so I certainly invite all my colleagues to join in and offer support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further business before us? There being none, Councilor O'Keefe.
Move for adjournment.
Councilor O'Keefe moves for adjourn. All those in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.